Bobby Hamilton very nearly won the spring race at Martinsville for the second time in 3 years. He led the Virginia 500 3 times for 130 laps, the first laps he'd led since the previous fall at Talladega, and finished 5th. This was already Hamilton's 3rd top 10 finish in these first 8 races of the 2001 NASCAR Winston Cup season, enough to put him 7th in the standings, 241 points out of the lead. Andy Petree Racing, winless coming into this 5th full season, is no longer worried about Square D renewing his sponsor. They're starting to think about the championship. Hamilton has accomplished this with the exact same cars, engines, and team with which his predecessor Kenny Wallace scored just 1 top 10 finish in all of 2000. About all that's changed since then is Goodyear's new tire, a point of concern for crew chief Jimmy Elledge. Quote, "These tires Goodyear has are excellent, and they're really changing the game for everyone, made everyone so much closer," he says. And that puts a lot more strain on crew chiefs to make the right calls and to make the cars drive good because it's so hard to pass. The tires are so durable. I knew that Sunday morning at Bristol that somebody was going to win the race by not pitting. If you just ran a few laps under yellow and cooled the tires off, the tires would come right back. Indeed, Elledge and crew struggled to make the right decisions at Martinsville, which at one point saw Hamilton lose the lead when he stretched his tires too far. But Hamilton already trusts Elledge, and knows such calls aren't easy to make. "I don't want to hear no apologies," he says, "because if I wreck it for trying too hard, I'm not going to apologize." Hamilton's calm under fire impresses Andy Petree, who once served as crew chief for both Dale Earnhardt and the team he now operates. "Bobby is a great race car driver, real professional," he says. "I'll be honest, I knew he was a good race car driver, but I didn't realize just how good. He's very enthusiastic and very happy and positive about what's going on. He's a real team player. He's at the shop every week, flies his airplane in from Tennessee at least once a week. He calls every day, several times. He's just a part of this deal. He wants to be here. He's happy about being here, he wants to win races, and he's happy with the whole situation. And that makes a big difference. These guys have great race cars," says Hamilton. "I've run a third of the cars they have in the shop, and I haven't run anything bad yet. In fact, I'm surprised we haven't won a race yet." For the next race at Talladega, Hamilton will not be driving the same car he steered past the last lap accident to an 8th place finish in the Daytona 500. He'll drive a car that at Daytona in 1999 was running so badly that Petree turned it into a show car. In the fall of 2000, when NASCAR changed its Superspeedway package, Petree put the car back into service, just in time for Kenny Wallace to have the best run of his career. Running second on the final lap with his teammate Joe Nemechek behind him in 3rd, both couldn't mount a charge on the leader. Wallace ended up with the best seat in the house to watch the Intimidator score the 76th win of his career, his final win. This time, for the first time in most fans' memories, Earnhardt won't be there. Someone else will have to take the checkered flag. The week begins with massive developments in the investigation into Dale Earnhardt's accident. The day begins with a conference call from NASCAR, where spokesman John Griffin reads a 2-page statement. In what's called a safety update, Griffin announces that NASCAR has commissioned its own investigation, complete with, quote, crash model development and testing, crash model simulation, sled and real crash tests, impact barrier testing, data analysis and cross-checking, and biomechanical and medical analysis. NASCAR doesn't name any of their experts, but says they include, quote, an internationally respected occupant safety restraint analysis and research corporation, independent experts in crash investigation and data analysis from a nationally recognized automobile crash analysis and research facility, and medical and biomechanical engineering specialists. Not among NASCAR's experts are both biomedical engineer John Melvin, currently working with Ford on the development of a new racing seat, and Dr. Steve Olvey. Each confirmed this to the Orlando Sentinel. Autoliv, a Swiss airbag and restraint company with an office in Detroit, reportedly tested Earnhardt's belts. They cannot confirm whether they're doing any further analysis for NASCAR, citing customer confidentiality rules. Autoliv does already have a presence in the sport, however, as an associate sponsor for Stacey Compton. NASCAR says the results of their investigation will be published in August. This concerns some of the drivers, including Jeff Gordon, as it pushes the completion date past the series' return to Daytona in July. As to this timetable, Mike Helton says, quote, everyone involved in this process is committed to a sense of urgency, but we must also move forward in a thorough, careful, and complete manner. We feel that only through a complete review can we have a comprehensive understanding based on solid, factual information and data, even if it takes longer to obtain than we would like. An insider says all three manufacturers are taking on specific roles in this investigation, one concentrating on front chassis rigidity, another on new protective measures in the driver compartment, and the third on the field of side impacts. According to the Winston-Salem Journal, their findings could lead to changes to the car, such as 1. Raising the roof of the cars a couple inches to put more space between the roll bars and a driver's head. 2. Widening the greenhouse, also to give the drivers more headroom and to make the cars less aerodynamic. And 3. Redesigning the nose of the cars to provide more crushability. A few hours after NASCAR makes this call, Dr. Barry S. Myers, the court-appointed expert in the investigation, releases his 5-page report. After examining Earnhardt's autopsy photos, Dr. Myers says the driver's basilar skull fracture was caused by his head whipping violently forward at the moment of impact. This was the result of his head and neck not being held securely in place. He writes, quote, frontal crashes, which are angled to the right side of the vehicle, are especially dangerous for the head and neck of the driver. Dr. Myers also concludes that Earnhardt's head did not strike the roll cage, nor was the fatal injury caused by something striking the back of his head. He also points out that if he used a full-face helmet, it only would have kept his chin from striking the steering wheel, and that itself was not the fatal injury. But most critically, Dr. Myers says the broken seatbelt, which NASCAR revealed on February 23rd, did not cause Earnhardt's fatal injury. This is because even if the belt was intact, it wouldn't have stopped the fatal whipping motion of Earnhardt's head. And it's likely the belt was intact. Earnhardt suffered 8 broken ribs, a broken breastbone, and abrasions over the left hip and left lower abdomen. These injuries reveal that even if the belt did fail, it at least worked properly through much of the crash. The seatbelt finding is supported by William Muzzy III, a biomedical engineering consultant from Louisiana who spent 24 years testing restraint systems for the U.S. Air Force and Navy. Muzzy tells the Orlando Sentinel, quote, the human body is a bag of water with bones. The body will disintegrate before the belts will. With that size belt and webbing strength, you're never going to destroy that belt. The body will destroy itself before the belt does. Both Dr. Philip Villanueva, the expert first hired by the Orlando Sentinel, and Dr. Steve Olvey agree with these findings. Dr. Steve Bohannon, the doctor who attended to Earnhardt in February, withdraws his earlier statement that a torn seatbelt did cause Earnhardt's death. Quote, I was trying to answer the questions the media and the public had to the best of my ability, and I think I speculated more than I should have, he tells the News Journal of Daytona Beach on Wednesday. Sometimes you should just say it's too early to speculate. After standing firm while bearing the brunt of criticism for Earnhardt's death, seatbelt manufacturer Bill Simpson is relieved. Quote, that report is total vindication in my mind. Since NASCAR said a belt broke, it's been total hell for me, so naturally the report made me feel pretty good. Now I'd like the issue to be put to bed. For what the Earnhardts have endured, for what my company has endured, and for what the sport has endured, we should move on. At the same time, Simpson is still upset that NASCAR brought up the seatbelt in the first place and consults with his legal team about the next step to take. Let's face it, he says, Winston Cup Series director Gary Nelson is there holding up a broken seatbelt that everybody knew was a Simpson belt, and they say the belt broke. What's he trying to say? We're not a bunch of 5-year-olds. We know what he's saying. This same week, a fan sends Simpson video footage he recorded of the accident. The footage is reported to show an EMT reaching into Earnhardt's car with a knife to cut the seatbelt. Simpson makes a copy of the tape and prepares it for enhancement. He'll reveal the video's existence on Friday's episode of RPM Tonight. Still, NASCAR denies that Dr. Meyer's report contradicts anything they've announced up to this point. Quote, contrary to several reports in the media, this report is not an opposing theory to anything NASCAR has presented, says Mike Helton. Since the Daytona 500, NASCAR has made clear that we will not suggest or speculate on the circumstances surrounding Dale Earnhardt's accident until our study is complete. No one from NASCAR has ever suggested what may have happened in this accident other than to say in our preliminary investigation we found issues of concern involving the occupant restraint system. The announcement of NASCAR's own investigation, combined with the findings of Dr. Myers, dominate the headlines. Andy Petrie is himself unconvinced in Dr. Meyer's findings as to the seatbelt. Quote, I'm glad NASCAR has been looking at these different safety angles and that they are continuing to test and look at different things, but it still boils down to that seatbelt. If it doesn't break, for whatever reason, then he walks away. Plain and simple, if the seatbelt doesn't break, he is probably leading the point standings this week. Gary Shelton, a writer for the Tampa Bay Times, questions whether NASCAR made a mistake in revealing the broken seatbelt back in February, or if this was an intentional distraction to steer discussion away from mandating head and neck restraints. If not for the autopsy investigation fought by NASCAR, he writes, we'd still be calling the broken belt the reason for Earnhardt's death. Mike Bianchi, for the Orlando Sentinel, criticizes NASCAR for appearing to make up new rules on the fly. Quote, the organization, NASCAR, says it will not complete its Earnhardt investigation until August. But what about the investigations of the other 3 drivers who died in the past year? Were they ever completed? Or do you have to be an icon to have your death properly probed? Surprisingly offering a counterpoint is Mark Martin. Quote, NASCAR is increasing its role in sharing the information they know, and they've been unfairly criticized, he says. I will be the first one in line to give them a swift kick in the rear for some of the things they've done in the past, but they have been criticized unfairly on this safety issue stuff. I want to make the point, I'm not sucking up, I'm not a yes man, and there are things they do that I don't like, but it certainly doesn't have anything to do with the safety issues. People are working on it, but you can't get it done that fast. These are technical tests, and the people doing them already have jobs, and it's not like they can just drop the world and cover this thing up and smother it out immediately. Letters to the editor in the Tampa Bay Times reveal fans split on whether NASCAR is handling the situation properly. Jay Franco of Largo, Florida, sides with NASCAR, saying, quote, leave NASCAR alone and let them do the job they said they will do. They've told us when to expect their findings, and I believe them. If they wanted or needed public opinion on how they should proceed, that would be another story. For now, this is their dilemma, and they have not flinched. I admire what NASCAR has done and become with its own vision, and I have continued faith in its judgment and fairness. Linda Maddox of Whitting, Indiana, is more skeptical. Quote, NASCAR has gone from being a fan-friendly sport to being a dictatorship. I have asked the following questions since Kenny Irwin passed away. I'm still asking them. If NASCAR were so safety-oriented, then why don't they have their own safety team traveling from track to track like the other series? Why did they tell the police departments in both New Hampshire and Florida that they didn't want them involved in the investigation of the accidents, nor did they want their help? Why didn't NASCAR attend a softball test at Indianapolis Raceway Park? Representatives from all the top series were there, as well as top representatives from K&K Insurance, but not NASCAR. Is this an organization seeking improvements and safety? Is this an organization seeking the truth? Incidentally, there's a report that another softball test at IRP is scheduled for early July. Hosted by Safari Associates Incorporated of Amsterdam, the test will involve wrecking a vehicle similar to one used in NASCAR's Craftsman Truck Series. As if this isn't enough, Tom Rumberger, Teresa Earnhardt's attorney in the ongoing Orlando Sentinel case, says Dr. Meyer's report shows that viewing the autopsy photos wasn't necessary for him to complete his investigation. Rumberger is already appealing Judge Joseph Will's decision that allowed the independent Florida Alligator, a student newspaper, to challenge the sealing of the photos and the constitutionality of the new law signed by Governor Busch. By the following week, 6 more Florida news organizations will ask to join the case. Judson Graves, another of Earnhardt's attorneys, asked the judge, quote, "Is she basically back to square one with her privacy rights?" The answer, yes, I think so. By the end of the week, both the Alligator and website City.com will file a second request to examine the autopsy photos, filing a cross-claim against the Volusia County Medical Examiner's Office. All this coincides with further developments in the field of safety. General Motors expects to develop their own black boxes by the end of the season, allowing them to record G-force data from accidents. PPI Racing reports extremely positive results from crash tests from their new cocoon-like seat. They now need a driver to run test laps so they can develop a second prototype. Downing Atlanta continues to struggle to meet the demand for Hans devices and is still exploring the option of licensing other companies to fill the more than 500 outstanding orders. The next week, Jim Downing will report, quote, "We sold 250 from 1991 to 2000. We sold 350 from the time Adam Petty was killed to February. Since Dale was killed, we've received orders for 700. Adding to the delay is the need to customize the device to each driver's needs. "I did not wear it at Bristol or at Martinsville," says Jeff Gordon. "I've got a new mold that I'm working on that fits me better. The last time I wore it at Texas, I thought it broke my collarbone, and I didn't hit anything. I was very swollen and in a lot of pain. As long as I've got one that fits me really good, I'll wear it, even at the short tracks. Those are the only 2 places where I haven't worn it. I plan on wearing it everywhere." Humpy Wheeler says the issue won't be solved by the Hans alone. "I think it's going to take an improvement in seats, which there is a lot of work going on in the 6-point belt," he says, plus some energy absorption material in the right front of the car. That's the area that has tremendous potential. Our whole objective should very strongly be to go with the mission of not having another death in racing, to make it something that we don't ever have to deal with again. That should be our goal. Michael Waltrip seems to agree. "I wouldn't be comfortable if we just left it up to NASCAR and said, 'What are y'all going to do?' It's all of our responsibility. We're the ones who willfully strap ourselves into the race car and run 200 miles per hour. Writer Mike Huguenin for the Orlando Sentinel criticizes NASCAR for only transporting drivers' medical records from track to track rather than hiring a traveling medical team as they do in open-wheel racing. In response, Wheeler says he's considering hiring a full-time medical director for tracks owned by SMI, including Charlotte, Atlanta, Bristol, Texas, and Sears Point. "We would continue to have the personnel in our trauma centers and the individual track medical directors, but this person would oversee things and make sure we have everything that we need in trauma centers at our various speedways," says Wheeler. Ed Clark, president of Atlanta Motor Speedway, supports the idea. Such news must be of some comfort both to Earnhardt's fans and also to Liz Allison. According to Bobby Allison, 9-year-old Robbie, son of Liz and the late Davey Allison, is a spitting image of his father. "His favorite driver is Jeff Gordon," he says, "since my dad's not here." The previous Saturday, Robbie was preparing for his Bandolero debut at the Twin Fountains Raceway Park in Shelbyville, Tennessee, when he crashed. Robbie was hospitalized for a strained neck. He's fine otherwise, but the sight of him in a neck brace gives his mother a sense of déjà vu. He asks her, "Did my daddy have to go through anything like this?" "I try to face reality," says Liz. "This is something he wants to do, is determined to do, and is going to do eventually, with or without my blessing. At least this way, I can be there to support and supervise and look after him." For now, Robbie's debut will have to wait, but Liz will let her son continue to practice. Rumors of a possible driver's strike at Talladega continue to prove unfounded. On this day, 17 Winston Cup and Busch Series teams turn more than 900 combined laps on the track in anticipation of the following week's race, dubbed Track Attack Weekend. If there's murmuring about anything, it's team owners Rick Hendrick, Bill Davis, and Joe Gibbs discussing whether they can franchise their teams, heading off rumors of a rival stock car series coming together. Among the drivers present at the Talladega test are Steve Park, Kevin Harvick, Sterling Marlin, and Dave Marcus. Tom Hubert tests the Caterpillar Dodge in place of Ward Burton. Kevin LePage remains with Morgan McClure and is rumored to be in serious negotiations to lock up the ride for the rest of the season. It's a decision with massive implications. Last week at Martinsville, LePage earned the team a provisional for attempting the race, but also had to use it to make the field. This means heading into Talladega, the team doesn't have any provisionals to use, and by rule won't earn another one for the next 8 races. If they miss the show in Talladega, they'll lose a chance at making the top 25 in owner points, where drivers aren't charged for the use of their provisionals. Following LePage's Herculean effort at Martinsville, the number 4 team is 26th in the standings, just 13 points away from 25th. For the Kodak Film team, skipping Talladega is the furthest thought from their minds. "Nobody is going to skip these races," says Dale Jarrett. "It's not that type of a situation. The fans love the racing, and if the fans love it and it's good TV, then we better find a way of getting used to it, because that's what we're going to be doing. We'll just have to adjust to it." Jarrett is pleased with his strong start to the season, where he's both the most recent winner and the only driver so far to have scored more than one Cup Series win. After falling short of the championship in 2000, following his first title in '99, he's more than determined to pursue another championship in 2001. "Things are just falling into place," he says. "There's 28 races to go, and that's forever, and we've got all kinds of racing to do. But I really like what I see happening. We're taking advantage of opportunities and situations, and that's what you have to do. When you put yourself in that position, you have to take advantage of those, and we're doing that right now." Despite, or perhaps because of his success, there's a rumor the longtime Ford effort of Robert Yates Racing could make the switch to Dodge. There's little evidence beyond the media's continued fascination with the Mopar brand. In fact, the evidence seems to contradict this. Not only is Jarrett the point leader with the most wins on the season, but his Ford has received favorable results in the wind tunnel. Robert Yates denies the rumor, believing it was concocted to throw them off their game. The team's contract with Ford already extends through 2004. Roger Penske's team is also rumored to be switching from Ford to Dodge, citing Penske's affiliation with Mercedes as a possible connection with Daimler Chrysler. Ford is reportedly concerned that Richard Childress Racing is trying to pull one of their drivers over to Chevrolet for a third RCR entry in 2002. Even though Jeff Green has already been named as a part-time driver for Childress after his Busch effort at PPC Racing switched to Ford, the rumor mill believes that Jeff Burton will be wooed away from Roush Racing. Speaking of Roush, the team plans to double their Truck Series effort for 2002 when they'll enter 4 trucks. Driving the 2 new entries will be John Wood, fresh off his series debut at Martinsville, and 24-year-old Tim Woods, a Californian who's competed in NASCAR's Southwest Tour and Winston West Series. The announcement comes as Roush denies that his Winston Cup team is in a slump. "How can an owner prepare for some of what's happened to us?" he says. "We've had a hard year because we've been involved in wrecks and had structural failures and broken parts that we've never broken before. Jeff had a tire problem at Bristol that wasn't his fault, and when he ran into Mark, we lost 2 cars right there. Over the winter, we prepared our engineering efforts, our aero program, our chassis program, and our motor program better than ever, but we couldn't have prepared for the chain of events that have occurred one after the other. We understand some of the parts failures, so I've taken steps to see they don't happen again. If you're talking about points, yes, we're struggling, but we've had some very good runs this year." On Fremont Street in Las Vegas, the Race Rock restaurant shuts down, citing delays in the construction of the Neonopolis entertainment complex across the street. Race Rock had been owned by several active drivers, including Jeff Gordon and Rusty Wallace. At 10:15 on Wednesday morning, Air Force One lands at the North Carolina Air National Guard Terminal, where President Busch meets with the Earnhardt family. The president consoles Teresa with a hug and a kiss, then shakes hands with Dale Jr., Kerry, Kelly, and Taylor. He then invites the family to tour Air Force One, at one point visiting the cockpit. before he meets with members of the Air National Guard and their families. At the track in Michigan, where he crashed in practice the previous year, Elliott Sadler tests the Citgo Ford, but the session is delayed by steady rain and 40-degree temperatures. Casey Atwood also struggles in the test, both today and on Thursday, when he clocks in a best lap of 196 miles per hour, despite a vicious crosswind gusting at more than 45 miles per hour. Meanwhile, Hills Brothers denies a rumor that they're leaving Dunleavy Racing to sponsor Eel River Racing, which still doesn't have a backer for Talladega. There's also good news for Petty Enterprises. On this day, NASCAR rescinds the $20,000 penalty handed to John Andretti's crew chief Greg Stedman for the technical infraction following their runner-up finish at Bristol. The commission determines the car's chassis had cracked welds, which resulted from racing conditions, and any resulting change to the car would not have provided any competitive advantage. Looking ahead, the 43 team reports they'll run a car sponsored by Hamburger Helper, a scheme originally rumored to be a Helping Hands paint scheme. While fans have enjoyed Darrell Waltrip's commentary from the new booth at Fox Sports, they're surprised at how much they're also enjoying Larry McReynolds, both for his knowledge and genuine enthusiasm. "I don't think we're going to run out of energy, but we've got to work at it," says McReynolds, "and we know that just like a race team, we're only as good as our last broadcast. We can't sit back and dwell on Daytona or Rockingham. We know we have to treat every show like it's a big show." "So far, I don't fear running out of energy or ideas," he continues. "There are so many stories that go on in that garage and out on that racetrack that the worst problem you can have is not near enough time to tell them all." McReynolds is not willing to rest on his laurels. "I've been very critical of myself," he says. "I've told all the producers and directors that work above me, I'm human and I like the pat on the back. We all like that. But I told them from day one, if you don't tell us what we're doing bad, we won't get no better." The three guidelines Fox Sports laid down: first, you've got to tell the story. 2, you can't ever let that viewer turn that television set off and have a why question in his mind. I wonder why they did that. And 3, you've got to have fun doing it. Despite this, Fox Sports ratings were down for Martinsville, coming in under 6 million households for the first time in 2001. The network blames this on the race running up against the Masters on CBS, where Tiger Woods competed for his 4th consecutive major. Still, in terms of year-to-year, the 5.4 national rating is up 46% from the 2000 running of the same race. That said, the Fox booth has also had the wrist slapped. During the Busch Series race at Bristol, after they criticized NASCAR's penalty for Kevin Harvick jumping the restart, Mike Helton barged into the booth to chastise them. This day also sees the passing of veteran driver Julian Taylor, J.T. Putney, who competed in 125 Cup races back in the 1960s. He dies in Gainesville, Florida, at the age of 72. While the NASCAR Winston Cup Series is off for the weekend, the lead up to Easter will mark the debut of a brand new track for both the NASCAR Busch Series and the ARCA Re Series. At last, following an open house back on April 7th, the Nashville Superspeedway opens its doors. Dover Downs Entertainment Incorporated, owners of the Monster Mile, have spent $125 million to build this 1 1/3 mile tri-oval. In all, 525,000 cubic yards of concrete were spread across 1,200 acres of farmland in Lebanon, Tennessee. Crews blasted away millions of pounds of rock beside turns 1 and 2, creating a spot for fans to park their motorhomes. In the track's infield is a new fan walk, where for $15, fans can enter the fenced-in walkway between the pits and the garage. This time around, fans will be able to see quite a bit, as not all the garages have been built yet. What has been built are 50,000 seats, nearly all of them already sold out for Saturday's race, and foundations have already been poured to boost capacity to 200,000. Even before the first laps are turned, the media asks Bill France Jr. if the track is in line for a Winston Cup date. Mike Helton does the scheduling, he says. He's not here. Right now, all we've got done is the 2001 schedule. We'll probably be starting to work on 2002 before too long. I'm giving you kind of a non-answer, but that's the best I can do right now. Also hoping to land a Winston Cup date is Jerry Carroll, track developer and co-owner of another new track, Kentucky Speedway. After Kentucky drew 65,000 fans to their first Truck Series race in 2000, Carroll hopes to pull 70,000 for its first Busch race coming up in June, and is setting up another 20,000 temporary seats. For now, Nashville may have the edge over Kentucky. It's believed Nashville could land a date if Dover Downs Entertainment gives up one of Dover's 2 dates. Despite the anticipation, there are only 44 drivers expected for 43 starting spots in the Pepsi 300 presented by Mapco Williams, continuing what has been a down year on car counts in the NASCAR Busch Series. Larry Woody notices this in an article for the Tennessean. He points to several factors, such as rising costs, including NASCAR's mandatory change to the engines that increased expenses by as much as $500,000 per team. One of the casualties of this change is a Busch team based in Nashville, owned by Larry Lockamy, a program which shut down midway through 2000. It was hard to go home and explain to your sponsor why you needed more money to keep racing when you weren't making races, says Lockamy. It was obvious that the situation was killing a lot of teams. The sting is also felt by the big teams. PPC Racing ranked first and second in the 2000 standings with Jeff Green and Jason Keller, but didn't sign a single new associate sponsor for 2001, and even lost Keller's primary sponsor, Excedrin. Then, of course, there's Mike McLaughlin, now 2 months into the season, and still without a sponsor on Joe Gibbs' number 20 Pontiac. Woody also writes, quote, "The real blow to Busch may have been dealt in the past years by a flood of Winston Cup drivers entering Busch Series races. Often possessing superior driving talent, armed with better equipment and supported by better crews, Cup drivers found some easy and lucrative pickings in the lower league." Randy LaJoie agrees with this, saying, quote, "The Cup guys have a lot of advantages. That's my problem with them. Give our guys equal money, equipment, and practice time, and then bring them on, but it doesn't work that way, so it's not fair." Kevin Triplett, NASCAR's Director of Operations, points out that fewer Cup drivers have competed in Busch in 2001, which would account in part for the shorter entry lists. Still, the change is massive. In 2000, 22 of the 32 races saw entry lists of at least 50 cars, meaning that in the first 8 races of that season, 89 teams were sent home. At this same point in the current 2001 campaign, there have been only 4. At least for Nashville, there are only 5 full-time Winston Cup drivers entered: Kevin Harvick, Mike Skinner, Kenny Wallace, Todd Bodine, and Bobby Hamilton. Skinner will now run the number 21 in place of Mike Dillon, both at Nashville and for the remainder of the season's weekends, where both series run at the same track. Dillon will not be the driver for the team's standalone events. While it's expected he may run a few more races, it's also reported he will take on a new role at Richard Childress Racing. In the meantime, he continues to join the crew atop the pit box to help the 21 team. John Darby, NASCAR's Busch Series director, isn't concerned about the low car count. He feels the 44-car entry list is the sweet spot, enough to fill the field without sending too many teams home. Ultimately, there will only be 43 entrants for as many spots. He also points out that entry list fluctuations happen on a cycle on their own, whether or not Winston Cup drivers are participating. He further denies he can do anything to keep Cup drivers from racing, as the rules do not allow for a ban. While Jimmy Johnson has already been picked up by Hendrick Motorsports for the 2002 season, his Busch team, Herzog Motorsports, still has big plans moving forward. That same 2002 season, Bill Herzog and sons Randy and Stan plan to expand to 2 Busch cars and make up to 8 starts in the Cup Series, preparing for a full Cup season in 2003. The only problem is they don't have a driver. ASA competitor Toby Porter, Johnson's planned replacement, was already fired from the team over personal differences. Also making a change is the number 25 team Marine Chevrolet, owned by Ed Rensi. Following a difficult start to the year, the team releases Chad Chaffin, preventing the driver from competing in the inaugural race at his home track. He's replaced by a promoted David Donahue, who raced Rensi's Truck Series entry in the first 3 rounds of the season. There's a rumor that Dave Marcus is considering running some Busch races in the 2001 season, having bought 2 cars from Andy Petrie Racing. But it now appears the cars are for his Daytona teammate, crew member Dwayne Lake. For now, Lake isn't entered in the race at Nashville, and Marcus is focused on his next Cup attempt the following week at Talladega. After that, Marcus plans to compete at Chicagoland, Indianapolis, then the fall races at Dover and Atlanta. With just 8 crew members on his team, including Lake, Marcus is running a limited schedule for the first time since 1968. In between, he's performing testing for Richard Childress Racing in exchange for engines and technical support. "I was not happy with the last couple of years," says Marcus. "We've just been going from track to track just to be there, and I didn't want to do that anymore. I thought with this plan we'd get better and we'd be more competitive." Losing Dale Earnhardt has made the experience that much harder. "At Darlington, I was walking through the garage and went over to Richard Childress's truck. I didn't even go in because I wanted to talk to Dale. I didn't know what to do with myself, really." Not among the entrants is Mike Bliss. Coming into the year, Bliss signed with the Emerald Performance Group to run 20 races, but the deal fell through after only running the opener in Daytona. "I wanted to run Busch this year, and I picked the wrong year to want to go there," he says. "I probably should have ran a truck. There are some things happening in Busch I don't even know on the Cup side. I can probably say I don't really care over there anymore. I'm mainly focused on the Busch Series." Many of these and other stories are posted on Jayski's Silly Season site, whose owner decries the loss of motorsports websites Tax Zone and Stooges Racing, both shut down by parent site Rivals.com.
Welcome to the brand new Nashville Superspeedway in Lebanon, Tennessee. Suzuki presents the ARCA Re Stock Car Series. Today, round 2 of the 2001 season, the PFG Lester 150.
Friday sees the ARCA Re Series return to action for the first time since the season opener in Daytona, the race won by Ryan Newman on February 11th. This will also be the first of 2 ARCA races on the Nashville track, the other following in August. On the pole for the inaugural PFG Lester 150 is a familiar face.
Defending ARCA Re Series champion, Frank Kimmel on the pole with a brand new track record. Obviously a real good race car here for you, Frank. How confident are you that you can keep this very stout field behind you for 150 miles and roll this race car into victory lane?
A crafty old veteran. How about this crafty veteran, I guess? But I don't know. The car's been great. Advanced Auto Parts Ford this weekend has really been awesome, and we just hope it runs all day. If it runs all day, I think we'll be there at the end.
I think that's a safe bet. Frank Kimmel ready to get real busy here in Nashville.
2-time and defending series champion Frank Kimmel scores his 11th career pole with a speed of over 151 miles per hour. Joining Kimmel on the front row is Mike Swaim Jr., 16th in Daytona, whose father competed in the Goodies Dash Series. This is just one of many family connections throughout the field. Andy Belmont makes the race along with his younger brother Kevin. Jeff Falk, son of LJ Racing team owner Joe Falk, drives one of Blaze Alexander's cars for his ARCA debut. Billy Venturini starts 11th with his father watching from the broadcast booth, where he calls the race alongside Rick Benjamin. Starting 7th is Philip Cranifus, son of team owner Michael Cranifus, whose teammate Shauna Robinson rolls off 1 spot ahead in 6th. There's also Stedman Marlin, son of Sterling, who runs double duty with the Busch race driving for the Sadler brothers. This first leg is off to a rough start. Just a few minutes into practice, Stedman wrecks his primary car, so Earl and Chuck Sadler go back to the shop to grab his backup, set to roll off 16th. And then there's Jason Jarrett, son of Dale, whose team owner is starting her 3rd season in ARCA, Mary Louise Miller, at ML Motorsports. Jarrett qualifies Miller's car 5th on the grid, but the team changes engines. This drops him to the rear of the 38-car field, or rather the 37-car field. Dion Cicerelli, entered in Bobby Gerhardt's car, does not start the race. These are among the 42 drivers entered to attempt the 38-car field, including Norm Benning, James Hilton, Rick Corelli, Stanton Barrett in a surprising 3rd for owner Randy Finley, and just 1 Winston Cup Series regular, in 9th place starter Ken Schrader. Among the 4 teams sent home is Junie Dunleavy's number 90, which had been fielded for crew member Jason Hidleski. There are no Dodges in the field, but there will be soon. On Tuesday, ARCA approves the Dodge Intrepid body, clearing it to run as soon as the next race at Winchester on April 22nd. This marks the first time that ARCA has competed on a concrete surface. Concerned about tire wear, Hoosier has brought a compound that's so hard they're expected to take several laps to gain any grip. This adds to the anxiety of many in the field who find turns 1 and 2 much more treacherous than 3 and 4. The result is a ragged start, where pole sitter Kimmel is one of the only drivers brave enough to dive into the corner.
Green flag is in the air. Frank Kimmel on the pole. Mike Swaim Jr. on the outside. We're underway, and it's Kimmel to the early lead.
See right away, the field's getting spread out right away. Everybody's so cautious here because of the new track and the concrete surface. They don't know what to expect, so I expect everyone to really be tiptoeing for about the first 10 or 15 minutes.
On the break, Kimmel leads, but Schrader is already on the move, battling from 9th on the grid into the top 5. On lap 6, Chase Montgomery brings out the first caution when he wrecks off turn 2. On the restart, Schrader is battling Stanton Barrett for 3rd. The penalized Jason Jarrett picks up 24 spots and now passes Joe Cooksey for 12th. Rick Corelli started 15th and now passes Andy Belmont off turn 4 to move into 10th. Belmont continues to lose spots until the next caution for Donnie Morlock's spin, by which point Jarrett is up to 10th. By now, Schrader has climbed to 2nd, and on the restart is all over Kimmel for the lead.
Kimmel, Ken Schrader, and Mike Swaim with Stanton Barrett restarting 4th. Back underway. Kimmel now. He'll watch that 99 as Schrader dive to the inside. Here comes Kenny.
Yeah, Kenny's already got the preferred line getting into 1 and 2, but Kimmel's been able to hold him off a little. And coming off, definitely the lower line has a much better bite coming off.
Schrader does this for a hobby, believe it or not. He says, hey, I just like to go racing so much, I want to load up my own race car and go run some Winston West and some ARCA. He's running strongly here today. Taking over the top spot. Kimmel hangs on for the moment right alongside, but you've got to figure that Schrader, as quick as he is going to be able to take, well, here comes Kimmel right back at him.
And I noticed Mike Swaim, he's thinking, okay, maybe we can try 3 wide. No, I don't think it'll work, Mike, but, just hang on. Don't worry, we're early in the race.
Schrader working the low side. Kimmel unable to maintain the advantage on the high side. Schrader is your new leader. Swaim Jr. rides 3rd, bracketing Kimmel, the pole sitter here today. Now, Kimmel had the quickest car in qualifying. That doesn't seem to matter much now that we're actually racing.
No, Schrader had a little problem qualifying. He came off of the 4th corner. The car got sideways. He shut it down. He said, that's it. I'm in the show. I asked him after qualifying, what happened? He says, hey, I was scared enough. That's it, 1 lap.
And the inside obviously working better. Schrader pushes up the racetrack. Kimmel goes back by to retake the top spot.
As Kimmel and Schrader trade the lead, Billy Venturini is up to 5th. Billy doesn't know if he has enough sponsorship to run the whole season, but has been hard at work setting up his own car. But barely 50 laps into the race, Billy's car starts trailing smoke whenever he lifts off the gas. The 3rd caution falls for Philip Cranifus, who after racing his way into the top 10, overcorrects off turn 2 and plows into the outside wall, dropping him to 30th. This time, the leaders pit. Kimmel doesn't get any adjustments, saying this is, quote, the best race car I have ever sat in. But it's a slow stop, and both Barrett and Shauna Robinson beat him off pit road. Further back, Andy Belmont is held 15 seconds for a speeding penalty. Staying out are both Jeffrey Falk and the number 19 of Kevin Counselor, who trapped Barrett, Robinson, and the rest of the field against a line of lapped cars to the inside. On the restart, Barrett makes quick work of both cars, but Robinson is soon passed for 2nd by Kimmel and Schrader, who also trade positions. On lap 63, Kimmel takes the lead from Barrett, and Jarrett is up to 6th. Billy Venturini made 2 pit stops under the Cranifus caution, and his team finds out it's an oiling problem that's causing his car to trail smoke. For now, it's not affecting his performance, and he climbs back into the top 10. Ahead of him, Mike Swaim is battling Tim Steele for 7th, and behind, Stedman Marlin is up to 13th in his backup car. Then the caution falls again, as Kevin Counselor backs into the outside wall in turn 4, leaving him 29th. Under this caution, Kimmel pits again, and again has a slow stop. This time the right front wheel gets stuck against the fender as the crew tries to pull a spring rubber. The stop cost him the lead, handing it back to Barrett, who leads Schrader, Robinson, and Swaim. Back under green with 35 to go, Barrett tries to throw the block, but Schrader makes it past into turn 3, opening the door for Robinson to take 2nd, and a charging Rick Corelli up to 3rd. Corelli now looks under Robinson, while further back, Kimmel finally breaks back into the top 10. With 23 to go, Corelli is all over Schrader for the lead.
Schrader first, Corelli second, 99 in the 05. Look at this, Corelli to the inside of Schrader. He'll go right on by. What a lap traffic is a victim.
Yeah, what a slide job. Did you see that? Kind of looked like he might have touched him and slid underneath him.
The caution flies for Billy Venturini, whose smoking issue grows worse before he wrecks in turn 1. He'll finish in 26th. There are now just 14 laps to go.
Getting down to it now, ready for a restart. Rick Corelli in the 05 is your restart leader. Ken Schrader in the Federated Auto Parts Pontiac will line up in second spot, and we are racing.
Yeah, Corelli definitely brought him down to the restart slow. He must wanted to try and get a jump on everybody, but right now he sure didn't fool Ken. Oh, did you see Schrader's car wiggle?
Yeah.
The center of the corner? That's the first time I've seen that happen.
Corelli and Schrader close on the backstretch, the 15 of Barrett third. Shauna Robinson going for the spot. Schrader takes the lead. Corelli comes right back at him on the high side through 3 and 4. Shauna wants third spot and more.
Schrader retakes the lead, with Robinson now battling Corelli for the second spot. Moments later, Schrader slows and Robinson shoots past into the lead, but she must give the spot back. Schrader is slowing for the 7th and final caution of the day. Stuart Kirby, future driver for Competitive Edge Motorsports, had followed up his 5th place finish in Daytona with an 8th place qualifying run, but his Bob Schacht-owned car breaks down on the backstretch, leaving him in 24th. Jeff Clark, Robinson's husband, is excited about her run.
We're real proud of her. She's drove a great race today. She's kept that car up front. The Aaron's car's done great. This whole crew's really done a great job in the pits. We're going to see what happens next few laps, see if we can't get a win here.
Is the car better than the 99 of Schrader?
Definitely. Off of 2 and off of 4. That's where you win races, off the corner. And she's got them covered today.
We're down to 4 laps to go.
Getting down to the last couple of laps here in Nashville. 4 to go. Schrader has the restart lead. Shauna is second. The 05 of Corelli is third. And here's Frank Kimmel in the 46 car on the move.
Kimmel climbs past Corelli into third. Then at the white flag catches Robinson for second, but he's run out of time.
Schrader will come to the stripe and pick up the checkered flag. Ken Schrader will win the first race ever at Nashville Superspeedway. Kimmel gets by for second spot. Shauna hangs on for third. Rick Corelli takes home fourth in the PFG Lester 150 today.
Well, we had to work on that. You know, Frank was awful good. He elected to come back in and put him at the back, and everybody kind of got running a little better, and I guess it was harder through. I didn't think I'd get I messed up and let Rick get around me there, and I knew if I didn't get him right there in that restart, we'd be in trouble, but tires were so hard. I had mine heated up a little better than he was. I was able to roll underneath him off too. And
how's it feel to be in victory lane?
It feels good because we've been a ways from victory lane for a while, so it feels pretty good.
Heck of a run today. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Schrader leads 3 times for 26 laps to score his 9th ARCA victory, his first since Salem in 1999, and his first with Federated Auto Parts as sponsor. Kimmel's runner-up finish moves him into the point lead heading into the following week's race at Winchester. Robinson, Corelli, and Swaim complete the top 5, with Jarrett taking 6th, rallying from 37th at the start. Tim Steele takes 7th over Stanton Barrett, Andy Belmont, and in 10th comes Mike Harmon, his 3rd career top 10 finish in ARCA, and his first since a 7th at Anderson Speedway the previous May.
We have the debut of a new racetrack, 50,000 fans pouring into this beautiful facility.
The NASCAR Busch Series prepares for the Pepsi 300 under cloudy skies and in the presence of an enthusiastic capacity crowd. The broadcast airs on FX, and Steve Burns takes the place of Mike Joy to perform play-by-play, again alongside Larry McReynolds and Darrell Waltrip.
Steve Burns alongside a rockin' Darrell Waltrip.
I don't like the picture that they showed of me.
Hey, DW,
it must have been 1973.
On Friday, Kevin Harvick wins the pole with a speed of 159.676 miles per hour. Harvick had been among the first to test at the track and gives it a positive endorsement. The concrete was really smooth and it had a nice stick to it, he says. It's going to be a real fun race because I think the track is built for us to go 2 and 3 wide, so that should make it exciting. By race day, he's still hoping for 2 grooves, but acknowledges there's a slippery spot in turn 2. The field of 43 is lined up nose to tail instead of in rows. Starting behind Harvick is defending series champion Jeff Green, who after this race will travel to Fontana, California for a test. The week after, he'll attempt to qualify for his first Winston Cup start since June 20th, 1999, when he finished 21st for Felix Sabates. This time he'll be driving for Richard Childress Racing in the number 30 America Online Chevrolet, kicking off a part-time schedule. Incredibly, this will pair Green with Harvick's Busch Series team, including crew chief Todd Berrier. But for today, the focus is to turn around a recent string of poor finishes, including crashes at both Bristol and Texas. There has been no shortage of accidents in practice and qualifying. At least a half dozen drivers have already wrecked. Both Jimmy Johnson and Shauna Robinson crashed their primary car, blown the engine in their backup, and now must start this race on an unpredictable new track in unproven cars from the back of the field. Johnson lines up 31st with Robinson back in 38th. But fresh off a strong third-place finish in the ARCA race the previous day, Robinson hopes for a solid finish. She's also the subject of a pre-race segment narrated by Chris Myers, which reveals why she briefly left NASCAR.
I just looked in the mirror one day and I'm like, it's not going the right way. And I'm either going to completely bury myself or I need to stop and I need to evaluate, I need to see where I am, I need to get the right deal.
Shauna's husband, Jeff Clark, is a Winston Cup mechanic and Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s jack band. Their son, Tanner, was born in 1996, and Samantha a year later. Shauna began an interior decorating business and designed homes of many NASCAR families, including Larry McReynolds and Michael Waltrip.
I think that could have been huge. I think that if I would have stayed that direction, I would probably be doing very large homes and and I loved it, and it kept me busy, but you could never take that racing out of me. You just couldn't. And there was never the feeling of being in a race car.
As with Green, Robinson is preparing her own return to Winston Cup in 2 weeks at California. Robinson is joined in the field by Frank Kimmel, who slipped past her into second on the final lap of the ARCA race the previous day. Kimmel chooses this race to make his first ever start in the Busch Series. He starts 21st in the number 8 entry, previously driven by Blaze Alexander. The team is owned by Armando Fitz, who bought Felix Sabata's Busch team after his 3-car effort closed at the end of 2000. Stedman Marlin's own double duty with Friday's ARCA race begins from the 34th spot, where Mallory Security sponsors his ride with the Sadler brothers. 3 of the top 7 qualifiers are rookies. Greg Biffle takes 4th, Scott Wimmer 5th, and Jamie McMurray in 7th. Biffle went fishing during the previous off week. Refreshed, he arrives in Nashville with what may well be the strongest car in the field. In happy hour, he outruns both Kevin Harvick and Jeff Green, and is so excited the night before the race he can hardly sleep. Conspicuously absent is Ryan Newman, whose part-time schedule keeps him out of the field for the first time since Las Vegas. The Tennessee faithful are keeping a close eye on Bobby Hamilton and his son Bobby Hamilton Jr., who roll off 17th and 3rd. The elder Hamilton is among the dignitaries who have had streets around the track named for him, along with Dale Earnhardt, Darrell Waltrip, and Bill France. For this race, Hamilton lands a one-race deal with Phoenix Racing, replacing Jimmy Spencer, who will return to the number 1 yellow Pontiac in Talladega. Jay Sauter, fresh off a career-best 3rd in Texas, starts 9th, 1 spot ahead of Chad Little, who qualifies Base Motorsports in the top 10 for the first time all season. Further back, Andy Santerre rolls off 25th, making his first start since his heartbreaking loss at Bristol, where he led 72 laps before a late race crash. This time, Santerre has picked up sponsorship from Wilson Bank & Trust, but Mike McLaughlin still has no primary sponsorship for his number 20, 1 spot ahead of Santerre in 24th. The final 3 qualifiers are making their first Busch Series starts of the season. Taking 41st is Mike Harmon, whose number 44 Pegasus Komatsu Pontiac was a lone DNQ from the previous race in Texas, and now has a chance to follow up his top 10 in the previous day's ARCA race. Dan Pardis takes 42nd in his new number 32 Outdoor Channel Chevrolet, but he drops 1 more spot as he missed the driver's meeting. The car Pardis moves behind belongs to Iowa native Jeff Streeter, making his series debut in his own number 83 McLeod USA EPD Chevrolet. During the pre-race ceremonies, the Reverend Larry Locke performs the invocation, and recording artist Jody Messina performs the national anthem. The command to start engines by Kroger President Tom Riggs is almost completely drowned out by a flurry of daytime fireworks. Finally, Tennessee Titans running back Eddie George waves the green flag.
Nice job, Eddie.
got a good handle on that flag. A lot of dust flying up as the cars enter the first turn. Oh, we got a couple cars together already. Here we go. Shauna Robinson around. Into the wall.
She backs it into the wall. The 49 of A.J. Frank gets into her. Caution flag still not out, however. Shauna's able to refire and get going.
I think that one car is going to end up on the apron down there. They're going to have to throw a caution.
But look here back at the front. Bobby Hamilton Jr., he wants some of Kevin Harvick.
Boy, they got together, too. They just clipped each other coming through the tri-oval right here.
Just a few seconds into the race, Shauna Robinson's backup car spins in heavy traffic, then is struck by the Jay Robinson car of A.J. Frank, who's making his first start since Darlington. Frank stalls, then returns to the race, but Robinson steers directly into the garage, done for the afternoon. For a second straight race, Robinson's day ends with an early crash.
I honestly can't even tell you, except for it's probably about the stupidest thing I've ever seen happen at the beginning of a race. I mean, I was there was no question about it. We were just getting up, and it was like I had a magnet on both sides of my car, and they just compressed me. I don't know what was going on. No brains.
Well, as you can hear right now, she's pretty disgusted with the way her results have been here at Nashville, Steve.
Back under green on lap 6, Bobby Hamilton Jr. is all over Harvick for the lead, then gets by into turn 3. It's the first lap he's led since November 6, 1999 at Phoenix, and he's not about to give it up in front of the home crowd. Trapped in the high lane, Harvick loses several positions and ends up battling Jay Sauter for 7th. Harvick paces himself, the team telling him to hang on until the first pit stop. Back up front, Hamilton Jr. leads over Jeff Green, who thinks he has a miss in the engine, perhaps a valve spring problem. The miss doesn't keep him from taking the lead from Hamilton Jr. on lap 17. Green opens the door for third-place Greg Biffle, whose car is turning its first laps in competition. Biffle had wrecked this car in a test at Bristol, and the Roush team had just finished piecing it back together. Now he's up to second, past Hamilton's Dr. Pepper Chevrolet. The second caution falls on lap 18. Coming off turn 2, Tim Fedewa bumps David Donahue, who hooks right back into Fedewa, sending both cars spinning down the track. Fedewa makes it back to pit road for repairs, but Donahue is left stranded in the grass with heavy nose damage. The Renzi team will get Donahue back on the track without much of the bodywork, and he'll climb to 32nd by the checkered flag. Under caution, DW and Larry Mack talk about the pros and cons of concrete racetracks, that they're more predictable as to weather changes, but also require low tire pressures to keep the front tires from chattering. Jeff Hammond adds that new concrete surfaces produce large amounts of dust, which makes for a loose racetrack until it starts taking on rubber. None of this is helped by the tire that Goodyear has brought, which, like the Hoosiers from a day before, are extremely hard and expected to last 75 laps. On lap 26, Jeff Green bunches up the field and takes off, but Biffle and Hamilton stay with him. The field still clings to the inside line, meaning anyone kicked to the high lane loses spots quickly. Next to lose ground is Kenny Wallace, who drops back on lap 29. He's saved when the caution falls again the next time by, this time after Ashton Lewis backs into the outside wall. Back in the garage, Lewis's crew looks under the hood, only to discover he also has an oil leak. He becomes the second retiree from the race in 42nd. Back on track, Randy LaJoie says turns 1 and 2 feel like ice, and that it takes careful acceleration to get through the corners. But he stays out, and so do the rest of the leaders, even when Biffle and Hamilton Jr. report a bad push, while Harvick's car is running too warm. On the lap 35 restart, Fedewa's is the only lapped car to the inside, which now creates a problem for the leader, who wants to commit to the inside lane as soon as possible. Green manages to clear Fedewa, but Biffle and Hamilton Jr. are stuck behind him, bringing McMurray and Wimmer into the picture. Hamilton Jr. gets by Fedewa first, followed by Biffle. Further back, Mike Skinner has climbed from 28th on the grid to 17th, and now battles Bobby Hamilton. Skinner spent much of happy hour scuffing tires, and the effort is paying off, but both have to slow down again on lap 38. This time it's Todd Bodine in trouble, and not for the first time this weekend. He's already collided with another car in practice, and this time crosses the nose of Elton Sawyer. Worse, this spin doesn't bring out the caution until Todd starts backing up on the apron. With 4 cautions, the first 39 laps, and just halfway into a planned tire run, Sawyer and Wimmer join Todd on pit road. Wimmer gets 4 tires and a track bar adjustment to deal with his Pontiac running tight in the center of the corner. When he takes off, he nearly strikes one of Sawyer's crew members, who inexplicably runs into the middle of pit lane after pulling a spring rubber from Sawyer's right front. Todd also returns to the track with no visible damage and 4 fresh tires of his own. Back under green on lap 42, and green again clears the lapped Fedewa, who Hamilton Jr. must battle down the backstretch, extending green's lead even further. Soon after, Fedewa snaps loose in turn 2, letting several cars move past. Biffle sets back after Hamilton Jr. for second and clears him on lap 47. By then, Jay Sauter has caught both of them in 4th. By the time Sauter gets past Hamilton Jr., he's also been caught by Jason Keller, who follows him by in a car he last ran in Las Vegas and finished 3rd with twice. As Harvick closes on Keller, another driver gaining ground is Randy LaJoie, who on lap 52 passes Chad Little for 8th. When the broadcast returns from commercial, Biffle has caught and passed Jeff Green to take the lead on lap 55, but this is by design, and Biffle agrees to let Green pass once he catches him, which happens on lap 60. But as Green catches lap traffic, Biffle retakes the lead once again. Biffle is still leading on lap 71 when one of the lapped cars he just passed blows a tire and clobbers the wall in turn 1.
That's Mike Harmon in the 44 car. Lap 70, our 5th caution comes out. And Darrell, you were just saying, the boys need to hit pit road.
Well, you know, it's funny how it works sometimes. Right when you're really starting to sit on that hot stove down there and sweat a little bit, the caution comes out and saves you. You crew chiefs are the luckiest guys in the world.
Well, this is a real break, though, for our leaders, because there were about 8 to 10 laps from having to come to pit road, and Scott Wimmer in that 23 car, he's the one that would have been out there leading this race.
Mike Harmon is slow to get out as he's broken his shoulder blade and is brought to the infield care center. In the meantime, his number 44 is towed to the garage, where David Clymer, a reporter for the Tennessean, is among those looking it over. According to Clymer, 2 men identifying themselves as NASCAR officials pull up in a cart, then tell everyone to get away from the car. The officials look inside the driver's window, pull something out, and put it into a plastic bag. The 2 then put the bag in their cart and leave. It's unusual, but Clymer puts the moment out of his mind and continues with his work. It's under Harmon's caution that many of the leaders pit for the first time. Jeff Green reports he's just 5 degrees tight and gets a quick air pressure adjustment that keeps him in the lead. Jay Sauter says his car's running hot and believes he has a hole in the radiator, but still comes off pit road second behind Green. Also gaining spots is Todd Bodine, who already changed tires under the previous caution and this time only gets an adjustment, moving him to 5th. Wimmer, who took 4 tires under the Bodine caution, this time takes 2 and remains among the leaders. But Hamilton Jr. cuts down a left rear tire when he runs over the air gun from Harvick's rear tire changer, forcing him to make a second stop that costs him valuable positions. The next restart on lap 78 puts Green against the lapped Fedewa once again, and this time the number 66 breaks loose and nearly wrecks them both. This opens the door for Sauter, who takes the lead over Harvick and Biffle, with Green tumbling back to 4th. Green then snaps loose in turn 1 and drops even further, only to be saved by the 6th caution for Dan Partis's spin. The yellow keeps Green in the 8th spot, but it also signals the end of the afternoon for Sauter. The number 43 pits from the lead with the water at 240 degrees. The team grabs a replacement radiator, but it's missing the plug, so they're trying to find where it went. When they do complete the repair, Sauter's car won't fire and starts trailing steam. His day is done in 39th. Now on lap 84, it's Biffle's turn to deal with Fedewa.
We're going back green racing here.
Greg Biffle's going to lead the field. And he's been causing trouble, Darrell. That 66, trying to get his lap back.
Yeah, he just about got into the side of the 60 car, come down to take the green. That cost him some momentum, so he won't be racing the leaders down in there quite so hard. But his car is not handling all that well, and he's up there trying to get that lap back. I can't fault him for that, but he needs to be a little bit more cautious.
As Fedewa drops back, so does Todd, who gets into turn 1 too high. Then Frank Kimmel scoots Marty Houston up the track off turn 4. Biffle leads Harvick by open track with Sawyer up to 3rd, making use of his potent Cosworth engine. Then Jeff Purvis spins off turn 4 along with Kevin LePage.
On board with Jeff Purvis.
Watch his hands over there. Steer, 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 steer. Whoop, yep, back the other way. Back, back, back. He's just working really hard trying to keep the thing. Look at that.
He had it corrected about 6 times.
Darrell, is that instinct? I mean, you're feeling which way to jack that wheel?
That's called flying by the seat of your pants right there.
Somehow, no one else is involved, though Purvis limps away with damage to the right rear, including a broken spoiler bracing. He makes 2 stops under caution. Back on track, Hamilton Jr. has climbed to 19th after his unscheduled stop, but now he's lost second gear. This already cost him positions when the race restarts on lap 100. Biffle and Harvick battle, but only for a moment.
Boy, everybody's looking for a place to go.
Not sure. They know he's going to slide down the racetrack. That's what happened right here. Jeff Streeter dove to the high side and just barely skimmed past the front end.
Driving Robbie Reiser's car for the first time since Rockingham, 20-year-old Clay Rogers spins and wrecks. He also collects Jeff Streeter, who is running so many laps down after unscheduled stops that he's only in 41st when his left front is destroyed. Rogers' car is towed to the garage where he joins both Streeter and an already damaged AJ Frank. In these first 101 laps, there have been 8 cautions that have eliminated 7 cars from the race. The halfway point is still another dozen laps away. For the lap 109 restart, race leader Biffle doesn't have to deal with Fedua. He has to deal with Marty Houston, who now leads the lapped Pardus and Fedua to his inside. This time the 3 leaders clear the traffic with ease, followed by 4th place Sawyer on older tires. And at last, the race settles into only its second green flag run of more than 14 laps. On lap 111, Keller battles Harvick for second.
Let's move forward. Jason Keller at 57. He walks by Harvick.
He's got the position going down in there. That could be mighty, mighty testy with somebody on the outside of you like that. But 3 and 4 seems to have more grip than 1 and 2. Seems to be able to make some good passes down to 3 and 4. 1 and 2, you got to be careful in.
Darrell was about to say, remember, Jeff Green on lap 78 about hit the wall. He's doing a great job to stay back in contention.
Not far behind, Jeff Green is recovering from his slip-up, taking 6th from Todd and letting LaJoie through into 7th. By lap 118, Green's challenging Wimmer for 5th. With 100 laps to go, Biffle leads Keller by open track. Biffle's team had him switch to his B-box, a second ignition box with a rev chip set 300 RPMs higher than the primary. The team wants him to get comfortable with it if he needs it later in the race. Meanwhile, Harvick passes Sawyer for 3rd. After 2 consecutive commercial breaks, Bobby Hamilton runs out of gas with 82 to go and coasts down pit road. With no readings on his tach, he speeds and incurs a 15-second penalty. Jeff Green isn't happy with his car again, saying he now might have a problem with the carburetor. When Green pits with Sawyer with 73 laps to go, his front wheels are belching clouds of brake dust. The next time by, Kenny Wallace trails smoke, then pulls into the garage. He'll return to the track, but his engine problem persists, continuing his plunge down the point standings with a 36th place finish. Biffle pits with 71 to go, and crew chief Randy Goss makes the risky call to add a quarter spring rubber to the right rear. It's a 19.2 second stop, but hopefully will be enough to fix a slight tight condition. With 70 to go, Todd pits with Wimmer, Jimmy Johnson, and David Green. David stalls the car and needs a push. When one of his crew sprays ether into the inlet, it flares up and the car stalls again. The team keeps pushing and finally gets him back on the speedway, where he'll finish 4 laps down in 24th. Mike McLaughlin briefly inherits the lead before pitting with 69 to go. Back on the track, RCR teammates Skinner and Harvick nearly wreck each other off turn 2. They barely get pointed the right direction when the 9th caution falls with 66 to go.
Again, we're going down in this first turn, and we've just seen so much trouble down here in the first and second turn.
Kevin Grubb in the 37 got in the back of Dan Pardus in the 32. Andy Santerre didn't check up. He got in the back of Kevin Grubb. All 3 of them end up in a big wreck.
Kevin Grubb is running 3rd when he tangles with Pardus and Santerre, leaving them 33rd, 34th, and 35th. Jason Keller ran out of fuel earlier in the race, but now feels he has enough to make it to the finish. He remains in 2nd, and under caution makes up the distance he'd lost to race leader Biffle. Not far behind, several drivers are having tremendous runs. Rich Bickle is running 11th, with Frank Kimmel in 12th, then Larry Foyt in 13th, and Brad Baker, sponsored by Nashville company Averett Express, holding down 14th. But not having a good day is Bobby Hamilton Jr. His transmission issue is now much worse, and he only has 4th gear. and when the race restarts with 56 to go, he drops to the apron. Meanwhile, Biffle is stuck behind cars running on the tail end of the lead lap.
This lead traffic. Mike Skinner in a 21 car. Jason Keller in a 57 car with all these lap cars.
Jason Keller doing a great job to hang on to that 57. Skinner put the wood to him.
Man, there's just no room right through this trial right here. It's real tight. Everybody ran out of room.
And Keller wants underneath the Biffle, and that's 60.
These guys are racing like there's 10
Three
laps
wide.
to go, guys.
Oh, no.
3 down the back there. Parker on the outside. Biffle in the middle.
And here comes Elton Sawyer in the 98.
Whoa, he got into the side of Biffle.
Keller rips the lead from Biffle, only to slow for a 10th time with 54 to go. Tim Fedewa tangles with Shane Hall, sweeping up Mark Day in what turns out to be Day's second and final start of the season. Day also collides with Larry Foyt, ruining what looked to be a much-needed top 15 finish for the struggling rookie. This wreck will end Foyt's race in an unremarkable 29th. Under caution, Fox gives us a glimpse of Murfreesboro, the geographic center of Tennessee. Then we're back under green with 46 to go, and Keller leads Biffle into turn 1 as Hamilton Jr. falls back once more. Sawyer tries to challenge Biffle for second, but bounces off the wall in turn 4. Behind them, Harvick climbs to 9th, with LaJoie up to 10th. With 39 to go, Biffle begins to pull away from Sawyer and reels in Keller for the lead. Biffle's B-box has allowed him to close on Keller, then shoot past off turn 4, leaving Keller to deal with Sawyer. Behind, LaJoie continues to rally, this time hip-checking Johnson off turn 4. Sawyer hangs on to 3rd, but now has Wimmer to deal with until he makes it past with 32 to go. Skinner now fights Sawyer for 4th, Sawyer trying to hang on to a top 5 finish, and this his 364th series start, which at the time is second only to Tommy Houston's record total of 417. But with 22 laps to go, Jimmy Johnson gets cut off by Chad Little, sending him spinning into the outside wall. Also spinning is Bobby Hamilton Jr., who makes it to pit road with a torn-up car to match his failing transmission. The team cuts away the bodywork, only to find a broken control arm that leaves him in 26th, ahead of 27th place Little and 28th place Johnson. These are the final 3 drivers to fall out of the race, in this, the 11th and final caution of a very long afternoon. Biffle says his car is still tight, but doesn't dare pit out of the lead. Today may well see his first career Busch Series victory. The restart comes with just 16 laps to go, Biffle clearing the lapped car of Jamie McMurray with Keller in second. Now 3rd place Sawyer is stuck behind McMurray. Wimmer again catches Sawyer, but the man on the move remains LaJoie. With 15 to go, he bangs doors with Todd, then shoots past Jeff Green into 6th. Up front, Keller gains a 10th of a second on Biffle, but Biffle pulls ahead again with Wimmer now clear of Sawyer into 3rd. With 9 to go, Harvick and Green battle for the 7th spot, but Green overdrives the corner, opening the door for Todd. But Todd makes the same mistake, letting by McLaughlin, who's rallied from a lap down up to 9th. Ahead of them, LaJoie is now door-to-door with Skinner for 5th, and with 3 to go is all over Sawyer for 4th, but he's run out of time, and so has everyone else.
Got the white flag on his final lap, mile and a third to go.
Float that thing down in the corner, hit your marks, get back to that throttle. Don't overdrive your corner. One more set of corners to go.
Just don't make a mistake. You got this one in the bag, buddy. Just don't make a mistake.
Jason Keller is out of time. Greg Biffle hauls it down off 3. He's headed into 4.
Here he comes back to the line for the last time to win the inaugural race here at the new Nashville Superspeedway.
And Greg Biffle wins his first NASCAR Busch Series race, the Pepsi 300 at the Nashville Superspeedway. Look at that crew.
It's a happy bunch. Everybody in the garage area this morning when I walked through there, I mentioned it earlier, they pointed at that 60 car. Obviously, most of them knew what they was talking about.
Yes, sir. And here he comes, and he does a pretty nice burnout now. I've seen him do it in the trucks. I'd say that you're going to see a lot of smoke fly out of this thing. Let me get her checked up here, boys. Let me show you folks what it feels like to win your first race.
He's going to turn this part of the white concrete black with circles anyhow.
He's going to leave his mark on the track.
Won the NASCAR Craftsman Series Truck Series Championship last year. It's John Force, Darrell.
Oh, yeah. He's launching that thing out of there. Great job, Greg Biffle.
And I want to especially thank guys in the fab shop, our painters, all our guys. We wrecked some stuff this year. Not one guy's has said one thing bad about it, and I want to thank Dave Dunlop and all the guys in the chassis shop, just everybody involved.
Don't forget the cat in the hat.
The cat in the hat, yeah. He was supposed to come help us today. I told him he's going to have to work, so he didn't show.
And he's referring to Jack Roush, the owner of this car. Congratulations.
And Greg Biffle is the man in victory lane for the first time. All right, let's go down to Matt Yoakum.
It took him 33 starts in the Truck Series to win his first race, but only 10 in the Busch Series. You could have done it more dramatic fashion. How concerned were you about the 57, Greg?
Well, I was pretty concerned because for some reason Granger Ford went real tight there at the end, and I tell you, these guys did a great job, and hope I didn't let Mark Martin down. It took this many races to get the 60 back in victory lane, but man, it was a great job, and I need to thank Granger and everybody. The team has really dug deep this year, and I'd like to say hi to everybody back home, Biffle's Pub and Grill, and everybody home watching, Mom, Dad. It's been a good day for us.
Did you think it was going to take you this long? I mean, only 10 races in after the season start that you had?
I didn't think we'd win this early, but I knew these were some of the racetracks we'd be good at, Vegas and these places, but you know, we may have had a couple more wins if the driver wouldn't have made mistakes along the way. Atlanta, I ran it in the wall, and a few other places we had a really good car, but I'm happy today.
Well, congratulations, Greg Biffle, first-time winner in 2001.
Greg Biffle scores his first career Busch Series victory in only his 10th series start. At the time, this is the second quickest that a Busch Series driver has scored his first win. Biffle trails only Johnny Rumley, who won in his 7th start in 1993. I'm so happy to be in victory lane for the first time in the Busch Series, and hopefully it's not our last for the season, he says. It's also Biffle's 4th top 5 finish in these first 8 races of 2001, keeping him 3rd in the point standings, but now just 1 point out of 2nd. I felt that we might be a top 5 contender coming into the season, says Biffle. If we win the championship, we might go to Cup next year. He also comments on his rapid transition following his Truck Series championship the previous year. My adjustment from trucks to the cars was a lot easier than I expected, he says. I adapted quicker than a lot of people thought I would. I just tried to take the attitude that the real adjustment had been going from the cars to the trucks because I had raced cars all my life. I was just getting back into cars, where I had a lot more experience. Biffle anticipates the new Nashville track is really set up for the trucks and should put on a good show when the Craftsman Truck Series arrives in August. He also looks forward to Talladega, where he's tested cars for both Mark Martin and Elliott Sadler, and most recently in December tested his car for Daytona. But he still feels that the Fords will be at an aerodynamic disadvantage to both the Chevrolets and especially the Pontiacs. Biffle prevails by just over 0.6 of a second over Jason Keller, who has his best finish of the young season and holds 2nd in the points, 91 markers behind Harvick.
Well, I love concrete racetracks, and I'd like to say hi to Deb and the kids back home that didn't get to make it, but just a great day for Albertsons and Ford and everybody involved. And I'm going to lobby for every promoter in the country to have concrete racetracks, and I think I'd do good. But we had good pit stops, and just couldn't catch him there at the end, but hey, we gave it our best shot.
Keller isn't upset with how Biffle passed him for the win. He stuck his nose right up where he needed to, he says. He didn't do anything wrong. He got me a little loose. Also impressive is 3rd place Scott Wimmer, who looks to join Biffle as a rookie race winner in 2001.
Yeah, we're just happy for Danikin Pontiac. Guys in the pits did a great job. We had awesome stops today, and Brad Thrower did an awesome job with the motors. We're just a little bit off. We're a little tight, and that kind of hurt us all day long, but not a bad day, starting 5th and finishing 3rd.
What is your opinion of this concrete track?
She's a tough place. Keeps you up on the wheel, especially down 1 and 2. But, you know, once it got a little more rubber, it was a little easier getting through there. But, you know, I'm sure people at Nashville will get it fixed for the next time we come back, and we're just glad to be here.
Frank Kimmel finishes 11th, just ahead of Rich Bickle and Brad Baker. Darrell Waltrip applauds the effort, but this will turn out to be the only Busch Series start of Kimmel's entire career. With this weekend in the books, questions remain as to the future of the Nashville Fairgrounds. Among the first to drive laps around the new speedway was Casey Atwood, who steered his pickup around its concrete surface. The old track is great, says Atwood. Don't get me wrong, I like that track. That's where everybody grew up. It's a local Saturday night racetrack. This is something that has the big shows. This is what the future is. Darrell Waltrip credits the high speeds and slick surface of the fairgrounds for teaching him how to compete on larger tracks like Rockingham and Darlington. The tradition of Saturday night racing at Nashville is older than I am, says Waltrip. I can remember coming down here in the 60s as a kid, watching Cuckoo Marlin race, and Charlie Binkley and Jimmy Griggs, so many different ones. There were so many great racers that have always been here. You'll never replace the fairgrounds. I don't care what you do. For now, just after the Busch race, the NASCAR All-Pro Series competes at the fairgrounds in the Gatorade All-Pro 200. Among the entrants is 32-year-old Rode Amons, a Tennessee State University graduate and fighter pilot in the U.S. Marines. Driving for his team, Czech 6 Racing, and with sponsorship from A&W Root Beer, Amons unfortunately fails to qualify for the 36-car grid. Wayne Anderson wins the race over Billy Bigley Jr., two drivers who would later both attempt Winston Cup races driving for different field fillers. Calling the action at the fairgrounds are infield announcers Malcolm West and Joe Williams, who pulled double duty with the Busch Series race earlier that day. After tonight's checkered flag, West still has another 2-hour drive ahead of him to get back home to Central City, Kentucky. With that comes the start of a new week, the week NASCAR returns to Talladega. On this first off weekend of the NASCAR Winston Cup Series schedule, many drivers relax for the Easter holiday. Bill Elliott hides Easter eggs around his property for his 5-year-old son Chase. Ward Burton goes camping with his family while brother Jeff flies his to the Bahamas. John Andretti celebrates his grandmother's 80th birthday. Stacy Compton travels to Myrtle Beach for 4 days of golf. Mark Martin watches a race where his son Matt is competing. Tony Stewart thanks his fans for sending checks to help pay his $10,000 fine for tangling with Jeff Gordon at Bristol. He posts a message on his website wishing his fans a happy Easter and announces he'll match these funds and donate them to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Stewart also denies he's running the upcoming Indianapolis 500, but is happy to know his name is still getting thrown around the IRL garage. At the same time, A.J. Foyt confirms he's entering a now available Robbie Gordon in the 500. In Charleston, South Carolina, Don Miller, co-owner of Rusty Wallace's team at Penske Racing, recovers from back surgery. It's a slow news day, but to this point there's also been more than enough quotes from drivers apprehensive about the upcoming race at Talladega, particularly after March 18th, when Mike Helton said there would be no changes to the Superspeedway package run in the Daytona 500. Says Jeff Burton, quote, "The kind of racing we're doing at Daytona and Talladega, and I've said it all along, isn't what we should be doing in my opinion. I do understand that we need to go a certain speed so we don't hit as hard. We also need to not get up in the grandstands. I just don't think we need to do it in big packs." From Dale Jarrett, who has enjoyed much of his success on the Superspeedways, quote, "The last 2 races at Daytona and Talladega have taken hard work and effort, spending money, being a better race team, and even being better race car driver in some cases. It's taken all of that away. It made no difference at Daytona how many Daytona 500s I might have won or what experience I had there. Anybody and everybody could stay up in that pack. It's a matter of how crazy you wanted to get, and I'm not a fan of that." Buckshot Jones shares his thoughts with Monty Dutton. Quote, "It's amazing how much I have learned and what a driver needs to learn to run good at Talladega. But the new rules change has thrown a curveball into the racing here. There are tons of drag on the cars now. You almost feel like you're driving a tugboat pushing all this weight in front of you. It's just air, but it seems like tons of air. Almost everything I had learned in the Busch Series can be thrown out the window when racing a cup car there. Drafting is drafting, and that will never change, but everything else has changed, from the strips across the roof to the rear spoilers on the Winston Cup cars. That's all different." Jeff Gordon talks about the mental aspect of the current rules package. Quote, "It's not something I look forward to. It's a very, very strenuous race. The last time I was there in October of 2000, my eyeballs hurt. My head hurt when the race was over because I was having to concentrate so much. It's just amazing what goes on there with 43 cars, the way we're stacked up with the rules we have now." As to driver safety, Gordon hopes more will be done to make the cars more crushable on impact, and is intrigued by the latest developments in seats. "There is no doubt in my mind we can have a safe race there, because we did last year," he says, "but the likelihood and the chances that someone will make a mistake and cause a multi-car crash is there, and that makes you concerned." On Monday, Kevin Gaybird, a member of Mike Skinner's pit crew who had already been struck on pit road twice in 2001, undergoes surgery to replace the ACL in his left knee and repair a torn meniscus. It's the 8th time he's had surgery done on the same knee. The 7th was in November of 1999. The surgery goes well, but he'll be in physical therapy for the next 4 to 6 months, keeping him out of the pits until the final few races of the season. At Chip Ganassi Racing with Felix Sabates, a change is made at the struggling Singular Dodge team driven by Jason Leffler. The team releases crew chief Kevin Cram, who began the year suspended for 4 races after illegal fuel was detected in Daytona. Taking his place is Matt Chambers, who previously worked with Kurt Busch during his transition from the Truck Series to Winston Cup. Chambers' first task is a 3-day test at Richmond, where Leffler logs laps alongside fellow Dodge driver Stacy Compton, plus Busch Series drivers Jamie McMurray, Mike McLaughlin, and Randy LaJoy. While the findings of Dr. Barry S. Meyer's analysis of Dale Earnhardt's autopsy photos has been published, the debate over the privacy of such material continues. in response to a bill introduced to the Senate the previous week making the unauthorized release of autopsy photos a felony. Talladega's Representative Steve Hurst introduces House Bill 722 to make autopsy records, photographs, and video recordings exempt from public record law. On Tuesday, Penske Racing runs Jeremy Mayfield's Talladega car through the wind tunnel at NASA's Langley Research Center in Hampton, Virginia, then tests his intermediate track car. Matt Kenseth and Mike Wallace complete a 2-day test at Kentucky Speedway. Wallace experiments with new shock and spring combinations that Ultra Motorsports may also use in the team's Truck Series effort. Richard Petty and his team's 4 crew chiefs kick off a nationwide auto maintenance campaign called All 3 Every 3. They recommend fans change their car's oil, clean their fuel injectors, and check their belts, hoses, and fluids every 3,000 miles. There's word that Jeff Bodine plans to return to the Winston Cup Series in the next month's Coca-Cola 600, but needs to find a sponsor. Apparently, he's close to having a car. Although these rumors were denied at first, the Winston-Salem Journal says that Bodine is still trying to buy the old Busch Mock team from Darwin Ort. Some people think I'm nuts to come back to drive, says Bodine, but I still have the need for speed. ESPN continues to fight with Fox over the right to show footage of races on their show RPM Tonight. Under pressure from Fox, NASCAR dismisses RPM Tonight as simply a magazine show, not a news show, like Fox's own nightly program, Totally NASCAR. Curiously, the sanctioning body still wants NASCAR featured on SportsCenter, which hasn't often done that in the past because of RPM Tonight. With Fox also buying a controlling interest in Speed Vision, giving them a foothold for a rumored cable channel dedicated entirely to NASCAR, ESPN considers another option. They look to NBC, which unlike Fox doesn't yet have a sports cable network of its own, and will cover NASCAR's second half of the season. Until then, RPM Tonight can only show still images on their show, and without credentials, their reporters can only interview drivers in the track's parking lot, in hotels, or at the airport. The whole debacle leaves ESPN Vice President Mark Quinzel frustrated. Candidly, I think NASCAR is selling their souls because their broadcasters want exclusivity, he says. I think that's lousy for the racing fans. On Wednesday comes shocking news. NASCAR has discovered another torn seatbelt in another wrecked race car. The belt is from Mike Harmon's car that wrecked in Nashville, the same car that reporter David Clymer saw 2 NASCAR officials pull something from the driver's seat on Saturday. Those officials then examined Harmon's car under the driver's supervision at his shop in Harrisburg. The first report is that Harmon's belt, made by Simpson in March of 2000, has a 3/4-inch tear in it. The news shocks the driver. It gives you a bad feeling standing there holding a torn belt, knowing that if it had broken all the way, I probably wouldn't be here, he says. But he's also thankful the belt stayed in one piece. It did its job, he says. If it hadn't, I wouldn't be talking to you. It definitely saved my life. When Bill Simpson hears of Harmon's belt, he finds the story has been exaggerated. The belt has a 1/4-inch nick on one side and some fraying of the fabric on the edges. Simpson now believes he'll have to have staff at the track check every driver's belts after every crash. There's also a rumor that some Cup teams will bring to Talladega cars with softer, more crushable bodywork on the front end, alterations that may or may not conform to NASCAR's 76-page rulebook. Michael Waltrip denies this rumor, saying someone made it up. In his article for the Leaf Chronicle, Rupen Vafaria points out that while NASCAR doesn't approve more crushable chassis, it does say that each driver is ultimately responsible for their own safety. Specifically, it reads, quote, "It is ultimately the obligation of each participant to ensure that his or her conduct and equipment comply with all applicable NASCAR rules, but also, quote, expressed or implied warranty of safety shall not result from publication of or compliance with these rules." Continuing with his passion for aviation, Jack Roush makes a deal with an Indiana billionaire looking to unload his charter service. For around $6 million, Roush buys 3 727 jets and retains their 3 veteran pilots. Since jets were designed for a luxury service, each with a capacity of 50 passengers, Roush plans to use only one of them for his Cup and Busch teams, then considers his options for the other 2. Thursday sees the beginning of Track Attack Weekend at Talladega. The track's surface remains unchanged since 1979, though there's rumor of a resurfacing coming in 2002, followed by Daytona. On top of practice for the International Race of Champions, it's John Deere qualifying day for the NASCAR Busch Series, where all 43 drivers entered will make the show. Just like in Daytona, Pontiac has the hot hand in qualifying, scoring 7 spots in the top 10 and sweeping the front row. Darrell Waltrip explains the discrepancy by saying Pontiac teams are able to aerodynamically hide their rear spoilers better than the Chevrolets or Fords. Joe Nemechek wins the pole, alongside Daytona winner Randy LaJoie, who is charging through the field at the end of the race in Nashville. Nemechek has run 5,000 laps of testing at Talladega, enough for the Nemco Motorsports team to compile a massive binder of setups they call the Talladega Bible. Speaking of the series, there's a rumor that John Darby, the Busch Series director, may move on to another position at the end of 2001. Mike Helton denies the rumor, but also won't elaborate as to Darby's job status. Just outside the track, Talladega's International Motorsports Hall of Fame honors its 4 newest inductees, selected the previous October from a list of 23. They are Mike Halewood, who raced both motorcycles and in Formula One, sprint car champion and Indy 500 winner Jimmy Bryan, engine builder Fred Offenhauser, and Alabama's own racer-turned-broadcaster Neil Bonnet. While presenting for Bonnet, close friend Bobby Allison says, quote, he was the most enthusiastic person at anything he was doing, whether it was short track racing, big track racing, or later on when he went into race announcing. Dale Earnhardt is also honored with the Governor's Award from Alabama Governor Don Siegelman, a driver honored for his significant contributions to the growth of motorsports. Dale Earnhardt Jr. unveils his paint scheme for the Pepsi 400 in July. On this same day, Dale Earnhardt joins Mark Martin and Jeff Gordon among those nominated for the Jasper Pro Driver of the Year Award, which will be presented on June 9th in Jacksonville. Martin has also been declared a first-quarter nominee for NASCAR's True Value Man of the Year Award, and Dale Jarrett handily beats Sam Hornish Jr. as ESPN's first-quarter Driver of the Year. At the National Corvette Museum in Bowling Green, Kentucky, bricks bearing Earnhardt's name and iconic number 3 are added to the sidewalk outside the entrance. Just over 2 months earlier, Earnhardt had so enjoyed driving for Corvette's factory team in the 24 Hours of Daytona, where he and his son were part of the group that finished 4th overall and 2nd in the GTS class. Among those attending the Corvette ceremony is Darrell Waltrip, who says NASCAR should mandate the Hans device. That thing gives you a 60% better chance of surviving a wreck like that, says Waltrip. If NASCAR won't make it mandatory, they ought to at least send out a bulletin that says we highly recommend the Hans device. And they should highly recommend it to the point where if a driver doesn't want to follow the recommendation, maybe his car has a little more problem getting through inspection. Jimmy Makar, crew chief for Bobby Labonte, says NASCAR is at a crossroads and needs to choose a new direction for its future. We can't continue going the direction we're going right now, he says. I don't see a future in it. I think we need to do something radical. We've kind of been letting it just roll, and we just sort of rode the boat without nobody even steering it, and it's just been going on its own, but in a good direction. Now it's come to the point where we've got to steer it and make it go in the right direction. Makar continues to push for smaller engines on the superspeedways, dropping horsepower from 450 to 300, and to cut spending on aerodynamics. Sterling Marlin disagrees and continues his long-standing push to eradicate restrictor plates. Running in those big packs is a lot more dangerous than sheer speed, he says. I'd feel more comfortable if they'd take the plates off and just let us race. Could we handle 220, 225? Yeah, I think so. I'd take that over having 43 cars stacked on top of each other. Friday at Talladega is Advance Auto Parts qualifying day for the Winston Cup Series. For $10, fans receive a commemorative ticket featuring Jeff Gordon, whose 2000 win in this race was the 50th of his career. The state of Alabama has just released a new line of NASCAR-licensed license plates, including a special edition featuring members of the Alabama Gang. As more fans sign Dale Earnhardt's souvenir hauler, everything is selling, and 30% of those sales are keychains, shot glasses, and pins. Those fans have been warned against buying counterfeit Dale Earnhardt merchandise. Neither the family nor his company has authorized any merchandise memorializing him. Private detectives will be watching the premises all weekend for violators. Teams have been preparing for this race since the very beginning of the year. The first test session of the 2001 season occurred on January 3rd, when Joe Nemechek tested for Andy Petree Racing, along with a few Busch Series teams. Andy Houston tested a Truck Series entry at the track in 2000. Yet while the Superspeedway package for the Winston Cup Series has been largely unchanged since Daytona, that doesn't mean everything's exactly the same. In March, NASCAR mandated a larger roof spoiler for the Dodge teams to match those run by Ford, and Ford teams will run a 2-inch narrower rear spoiler to match those run by Chevrolet. Ray Evernham argues the Dodge team shouldn't have been given a spoiler change after Daytona, as their teams have struggled in every race since and remain winless heading into Talladega. Jack Roush disagrees, saying the Dodge teams still have better engines and aerodynamics than the Fords. Regardless, Evernham hopes to make up for the perceived disadvantage with faster pit stops. Earlier in the week, he hires a former classmate in Tara Flynn, a Navy SEAL, to become his new pit crew coach. In all, 48 teams arrived to contest the 43-car starting grid for the Talladega 500, meaning 5 teams will be sent home. The only team missing from Martinsville's entry list is the number 13 of Hermie Sadler, who awaits the next short track race in Richmond. 3 other teams return to action. Jeff Purvis and Phoenix Racing are back for the first time since their last place crash in the Daytona 500. Purvis still doesn't have a sponsor, and he hasn't even tested his blank white number 51 Ford. Dave Marcus makes his first attempt since early morning fog cost him a spot in the field at Darlington. And making his first Winston Cup attempt since the 2000 Daytona 500 is Andy Hillenberg. This time, Indiana Andy drives a former Bill Davis Racing Pontiac that Dave Blaney drove to a 28th place finish at Talladega the previous October. This time it has an engine from Andy Petree and support from crew chief Eddie Jones. This will mark the first ever Winston Cup attempt by team owner Beth Ann Morgenthau, who entered Hillenberg in the ARCA race at Atlanta the previous November. Thus, the number 49 Pontiac has no sponsorship, just the team's name consisting of Morgenthau's initials, BAM Racing. Not on the entry list is Brian Kahns, who back in March planned to make the jump from ARCA to Winston Cup in this Talladega race. Running the number 78, with sponsorship from Field & Stream magazine, Kahns pushes his planned debut to Daytona in July, with another 5 races to follow in the season's second half. In the meantime, he remains focused on ARCA. During pre-qualifying inspection at Talladega, journalist Jody Chernesky for the Birmingham Post-Herald learns NASCAR's ritual for installing restrictor plates. It turns out every restrictor plate is reused, except those used by the race winner and the pole winner, which are then retired and replaced. Later photos of Dale Earnhardt's wrecked car will show the carburetor still in place, meaning his plate was likely also written off, along with those of Michael Waltrip and Bill Elliott. Once this is done, the plates are kept in a locked case at NASCAR's Daytona headquarters. This week, the case has been brought to Talladega in a guarded transporter, then dropped off in the infield under constant supervision of NASCAR officials. For every single car, the officials supervise the removal of its carburetor, which itself is examined. Only after it passes does NASCAR official George Metrick approach the case of restrictor plates. He opens the case from the rear, meaning he must reach over the lid, ensuring he chooses a plate at random without seeing it. Metrick hands the plate to another official, who holds it directly over his head as he walks to the car. Only the officials are allowed to install the plate, the gaskets and spacer, after which the crew reinstalls the carburetor. The team then cranks the engine so the officials can check for air leaks. If none are found, the car is sent on its way. Also watching these proceedings is reporter Bert Stewart for the Opelika Auburn News. Stewart, of no relation to Tony, has his view of the Home Depot Pontiac blocked by a suspicious crew member, which Bert laughs off. The Room of Doom is as busy as ever. Inspectors confiscate unapproved fuel cell racks from the cars of Ricky Rudd, Michael Waltrip, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. Unapproved magnets are found on the bodywork of Casey Atwood's Dodge. Steve Park's car is found with lug nuts fashioned with strange indentations on the sides, so all 20 of his lugs are also taken. So is the entire windshield from Bobby Hamilton's Square D car, as it fails to fit NASCAR's template. Speaking of Hamilton, in cooperation with sponsor Square D, his team has offered space to new associate sponsors on his car's quarter panel and TV panel. The rate is $100,000 for one race or $400,000 for 5, in exchange for hospitality passes, VIP credentials, and photo ops with Hamilton. Andy Petrie Racing pulls out all the stops in promoting this deal, even publishing in the Charlotte Observer the name, phone number, and extension of their sponsor representative. But none have signed on for this weekend, so Square D's logos remain on the back of his Chevrolet. This is similar to an arrangement for Mike Skinner, whose Lowe's Chevrolet now carries quarter panel and deck lid logos for Top Choice Lumber, a product sold at Lowe's. After an off-season where Lowe's tried to part ways as Skinner's sponsor, Richard Childress anticipates both Lowe's and Skinner will stay with the team in 2002 as part of their new 3-car lineup. Other teams are running special paint schemes. While Jeff Gordon famously ran a Diet Pepsi-sponsored car in USAC, he was briefly sponsored by Coca-Cola and Winston Cup before Pepsi locked him down again heading into 1997. Now, for the first time in a Cup car, he'll run with Pepsi as primary sponsor. Unveiled on January 9th, this is the first time Pepsi has been seen on the hood of a Cup car since May 16, 1993, when the company backed Winston West driver Dirk Stevens, who finished 30th at Sears Point. This is a brand new car for Gordon after his Daytona car was wiped out in the big one. Darrell Waltrip doesn't like the scheme, as it doesn't have any flames on it. Sterling Marlin and sponsor Coors Light run their latest special paint scheme with country music stars Brooks and Dunn, who were featured on the number 40 in each of the previous 2 seasons. This version promotes the duo's new tour, the Neon Circus and Wild West show. The scheme will also run in the Winston, the Coca-Cola 600, and the inaugural Cup race at Kansas. The Ganassi team prepared a brand new car for this race, but are so happy with how their Daytona car performed that they've chosen to throw all the new adjustments to chassis number 005 and run it again. Jeremy Mayfield runs a special paint scheme for Sony, one of the companies that came over from Robbie Gordon's shuttered team. The car will carry the Vega brand logo of Sony's new flat-screen TVs. In the days leading up to this race, Mayfield has been testing a new restraint system made by Simpson, what's called a decelerator, which tears a bit before it stops, which in theory would prevent the driver's head from whipping forward in a crash. Earlier in the week, writer Dennis Michelson at frontstretch.com sets up a fundraiser to land Kenny Wallace a one-race sponsor. Michelson sets a goal of $150,000, and if it falls short, will have those funds donated to a racing-affiliated charity. At least for this week, the pressure is off for both Kenny and Michelson. Subway, the presenting sponsor of the broadcast and title sponsor of the Busch race, will back his number 27 at Eel River Racing. The deal is only for this one race, but with a strong performance, crew chief and team manager Barry Dodson hopes it can turn into something more. In opening practice, Ricky Craven is fastest over Mark Martin, Sterling Marlin, Kevin Harvick, and Dale Jarrett. Elated with the run is sponsor Winn-Dixie, which just a day earlier signed on to sponsor the TV panel on Craven's Ford. Also of note are Andy Houston in 6th, Kevin LePage in 11th, and Dave Marcus a solid 14th. But Andy Hillenberg and BAM Racing have their work cut out for them, slowest of the 48 drivers entered, and 2/10 off 47th ranked Brett Bodine. Casey Atwood turns just 3 laps before he blows the engine on his Dodge. First to take time in qualifying is Joe Nemechek, who runs the same car from the Daytona 500, but with a new body on it after his late race tangle with Kurt Busch. Buckshot Jones, Jimmy Spencer, and Andy Hillenberg run no faster. Spencer is also driving his 500 car, which he drove to 5th and 38th in the 2000 races at Talladega. Despite its lack of speed, Spencer expects the car to draft well. Jeff Purvis times in 3rd of the first 5 qualifiers, then Kenseth ranks just 5th of the first 6. Like Spencer, Kenseth ran this Ford in both Talladega races in 2000, finishing 18th and 10th, and expects it to race much better than it qualifies. But in the booth, Darrell Waltrip notices Kenseth's car has too much rebound in the shocks and is also overheating. 7th on the track is Hamilton, who joins teammate Nemechek on what is so far an all Andy Petrie Racing front row. Atwood comes in just under Hamilton's time at 3rd, his backup engine showing some speed. Then comes Tony Stewart, who after his big crash in February returns to his old reliable, the car he raced in all 4 superspeedway races in 2000.
And Darrell, you talked about it a while ago. Since we can't mess with the rear springs or rear shocks, what these teams will do, they'll put as soft as, say, 400-pound springs in the front, go on chassis stops, which is rubber stops on the chassis. The 400-pound springs let the car go down on the straightaway. The chassis stops hold it up off the racetrack in the corners.
Yeah, that's what all the testing is about, coming and working all that out, because you're talking about a few hundred thousandths.
And Stewart is on the pole. 52.128 seconds, 183.7 miles per hour.
Stewart takes the provisional pole, and the next 3 cars of Kyle Petty, Rick Mast, and Elliott Sadler fall well short. Kevin Harvick drives a brand new car for his first Winston Cup Superspeedway race. The car hasn't tested well, but still leaps to second alongside Stewart. After a mid-pack run for John Andretti comes Sterling Marlin in the Silver Bullet.
Lee McCall, his crew chief, I was pretty impressed with their testing procedures. They came down here and tested. They went with the old roof fin. They set a baseline. They put the new higher roof fin on the car and just kept working on the car till they got it at least back to the speed that it was with the old roof fin.
3 poles and 2 wins here for Marlin, and he's the fastest. 51.881 Sterling Marlin at 184.576 miles an hour.
Even with NASCAR's rule changes, Marlin is just as fast as ever, leading the first 15 drivers. Next comes 2 of the Wallace brothers, Kenny and Mike, both well down in the order. Jerry Nadeau takes 5th, Mark Martin leaps to 2nd, and now it's Stacy Compton's turn. Compton runs the exact same car that won the outside pole in the Daytona 500, a car that escaped all the day's wrecks to earn a 10th place finish. The car was fabricated by Body Dynamics Racing Bodies Incorporated, which at the time offers fans the ability to watch cars be assembled on live webcams. Once again, all eyes are on number 92.
Not a total surprise. Remember, this was our outside pole sitter for the Daytona 500 about 2 months ago.
And Melling Racing, this team has 7 pole positions here. Back in the Bill Elliott 212-mile-an-hour days.
And we got a pole sitter.
Just as we sat here during break saying, you know, Sterling's lap's going to be really tough to top, Stacy Compton beats him by 8/100ths of a second.
At least for now, Compton joins Marlin on another all-Dodge front row. Ward Burton is the next challenger, but his car won't drive off pit road. Crew Chief Tommy Baldwin isn't sure if the problem's the transmission or the rear gear, but it's enough to keep Ward from taking a lap. He takes a provisional, and on Sunday will roll off 39th. Dale Earnhardt Jr. takes to the track. He's not running his runner-up car from the Daytona 500, but instead his Bud Shootout car, as it showed lower drag numbers.
Here, that's not a problem. Here, this is really a track where drag is something that you don't need here, and downforce is something you don't need here like you do at Daytona.
In the perfect world, you would have a low drag car to qualify at Daytona and a little more downforce car to race. At Talladega, you can get by with a low drag car for qualifying and racing. There's no free lunches. The more drag you increase, the more the downforce is increased.
The first lap for Earnhardt Jr., 23rd of the 24 drivers that have run, and he's going to need 6/10 or more to break into the top 10.
Yeah, I tell you, that's not a very good first lap for him. I'm really surprised. But the longer these cars sit out here, the cars at the near the back of the field, remember, they got to get those fluids warmed up, and that first lap sometimes can be very deceiving. Once they get heat in the gear, transmission, engine, and everything, he can pick up a lot. He could pick up a second.
He was 8th quickest in practice. His practice time was 52.12, almost a second quicker than his first lap. Let's see what his second lap ends up at.
10th, 52.389, 182.7 miles per hour.
He picks up 8/10 on his second lap, but ranks just 10th of the first 23 drivers. Ken Schrader, his Daytona car destroyed in February's tragic accident, runs his own shootout car that ran out of fuel in that event, but ranks just 17th. Johnny Benson Jr. is second slowest. Michael Waltrip, who skipped the previous week's Boston Marathon to prepare for this race, times in 6th. He says this car is even better than his Daytona winner and remains unconcerned about if he wrecks, comparing it to worrying about the weather. Steve Park, Hut Strickland, and Dave Blaney run back in the order. Fastest in practice, Ricky Craven has an ignition issue on the grid. A crew member climbs through the passenger window for a quick fix, and the tied Ford ranks 4th. As Compton watches nervously from atop Melling Racing hauler, other big names fall short. Both Bobby and Terry Labonte trade the 20th spot. Jeff Gordon's Pepsi car takes 11th. Rusty Wallace, his third-place Daytona 500 car rebuilt after the big one tore a 4-foot gash in the passenger side, takes 21st. Ricky Rudd only manages 26th after engine issues in practice. Mike Skinner takes 11th. Then last in the order comes Dale Jarrett, who after his own crash damage in Daytona, must rely on his own shootout car.
Yeah, he's going to be right there in that car. Look how smooth that thing is. It's down, it's not bouncing. Look at his hands in there. He's not moving the steering wheel one bit. He's focused. Car's running real good for him.
And unlike Kevin LePage, he was about a lane off the backstretch wall. And this is the car that Dale Jarrett and his group ran in the Busch shootout. And a year ago, they was leading the race, missed the fuel mileage, and ran out of gas, and ended up not finishing near what they'd like to.
That team, Robert Yates Racing, with 3 poles here, 2 of them at the hands of Larry McReynolds.
Well, with Ernie Irvin, I think 1996 and 1994. 6th quickest.
52.116. He got half a second back on that second lap, and will line up in the 3rd row. It's 3 Dodges, 3 Fords, and 4 GM cars in the top 10. And Stacy Compton can start breathing again.
And DW, I think his engine builder is used to sitting on the pole here at Talladega.
Tony Santana Cola, I think's how you say his name. I would put him up against anybody in this sport that's ever been in this sport when it comes to restrictor plate motors. He works for Ernie Elliott, but he's the man.
With that, Stacy Compton, who failed to qualify for 4 of the last 6 races in 2000, earns his first career pole in his 41st career start. With Marlin alongside, Dodge sweeps the front row of a second straight Superspeedway race. In fact, it's an all-Mopar top 3 with Bill Elliott in 3rd. Winless at the track since 1977, Dodge swept the top 3 finishing positions at Talladega in the 1969 inaugural. The front row, along with Marlin's teammate Jason Leffler, who times in 25th, will run Ernie Elliott engines, built by team engine builder Tony Santanacola. Santanacola previously worked for Cale Yarborough Motorsports and built the power plant that gave John Andretti his first win at Daytona in 1997. Dave Marcus is all smiles. He'll make his first start of the season in the 15th spot.
Why not? 60-year-old Dave Marcus is going to be in the race on Sunday, and that's for sure. Hey, 3 poles here at Talladega. He won the race here in 1976. But just starting that far up front's got to be fun.
It is a lot of fun. I really enjoy Talladega. It's been a good track for me throughout my entire career. Got to thank Richard Childress, all his guys, all my guys, Bill Jordan at Realtree, and the Wenger people, and everybody that helps us. I mean, we're tickled to death. We're doing a limited schedule this year, and the guys been working hard. We came down here and tested, and Childress's guys helped us in that test, and just a big effort by everybody, and we're tickled to death to be in the show, believe me.
And the driver did a good job, too. We're looking forward to watching you race on Sunday.
And there are the famed wingtip driving shoes.
Continuing his long-standing business relationship with Richard Childress, Marcus will have his car pitted by Kevin Harvick's Busch Series pit crew, who will stay an extra day. Marcus also gets an interview on Sunday.
The man in the wingtip shoes, Dave Marcus. More experience here at Talladega than anybody else. 60 starts, a win in 1976, 3 poles. What have you learned about this place, Dave?
Well, it's a very demanding racetrack. We run around here flat foot every lap, and I've had some great finishes here over the years, and it's an exciting place to race. It's going to be very hot today. I think on long runs, the tires are going to get a little bit greasy maybe, and it's going to be an exciting race.
Wish you good luck today.
Thank you.
Kevin LePage also pulls through for Morgan McClure, taking 18th. All 6 rookies make the field, though Ron Hornaday Jr. must once again claw his way from the back of the field in 42nd. Truck Series graduates Andy Houston and Kurt Busch will be racing at Talladega for the very first time. Mike Wallace rounds out the field. His brother Kenny misses the show by just 1/10 of a second. It's Kenny Wallace's first DNQ since August 1998 at Michigan, a brutal hit for the previous fall's runner-up finisher. Subway, Kenny's sponsor, jumps from the 27 to Jeff Purvis, who makes his second straight Superspeedway race, this time in 33rd. As a bonus, Purvis gets an onboard camera, which shows the Neil Bonnet tribute decal on his dashboard. Sent home along with Kenny Wallace are Kyle Petty, Rick Mast, and Hut Strickland, who continue to rack up early season DNQs, along with the BAM Racing Pontiac of Andy Hillenberg. Petty had tested at Talladega, and the team made changes to all three of their cars, but teammates Buckshot Jones and John Andretti ranked just 29th and 35th.
Oh, I come from Alabama with my banjo on my knee. Today on Fox and the fastest track, a race Odyssey. Dale Jarrett leads in points, that boy sure can fly. Chris Myers, he's a pretty boy, oh Chrissy, don't you cry. Oh, Jeff Gordon, you're the one I want to see. You won this race a year ago, beating you is still the key.
Saturday begins with happy hour for the Winston Cup teams, where speeds in the draft are already up 7 miles per hour from qualifying. For most of the session, the pack grows no larger than a dozen cars as a few others make single-car runs. Dale Jarrett makes 3 runs to ensure his car feels comfortable in each lane. Jerry Nadeau tries to get some advice on the track from Richard Petty. Johnny Benson stays out for a full fuel run, the nose of his Pontiac taped up solid. Wearing his uniform for that afternoon's Busch Series race, Kevin Harvick only runs for a few minutes before he calls it a day. There are no accidents, but there are again some close calls. A piece of debris flies up and catches the lower grille opening on Matt Kenseth's car, but there's just enough tape there to catch it before it can damage the oil cooler. Ricky Craven burns a piston, so his team swaps to a new Robert Yates engine. With no more time to practice, this engine's only laps before Sunday will come in the garage area, where he steers around the buildings at a walking pace. Bobby Labonte comes in early, as the wind around his car is so turbulent that it sucks several rivets out of the rear of his car. The same car, mind you, that teammate Tony Stewart crushed during the big one at Daytona in February, just with a new body on it. The crew applies some tape, sends him back out, then returns for a last-minute gear change. Once again, the booth provides some interesting insight into the technical aspects of the cars. We learned that NASCAR mandates the teams run the same radiator in both qualifying and the race. Before that, teams spent between $2,000 and $3,000 on an alternate radiator that was so heavy it took multiple crew members to install. Larry McReynolds and Darrell Waltrip weigh in on the use of bump stops in the suspension.
Bump stops, they go on the chassis, they're adjustable, you can raise them or lower them, try to run as soft the front springs as you can in the front of these cars, keep it down on the straightaway, but when you go in the corner, the car travels more. So instead of bottoming out on the race car, it goes down against these rubber bump stops. What they have done, they took the left front one off. The right front one's the one that's going to keep it from bottoming out. That's allowing that left front corner to travel more, and that's the critical corner to keep buried. Keep air out from underneath the left front. That will help make that car turn as well as faster down the straightaway.
Quite honestly, I wish they'd do away with bump stops. I believe that's one of the things that has been put on these race cars the last couple of years that are creating an awful lot of problems, and particularly when these cars get out of control. They set down on those stops, they lock up mechanically, and now they're just like a sled when they do that.
We also learned about NASCAR's method of ensuring the rear spoiler is compliant.
Look at these things right here. What these are stickers that NASCAR puts on. This wicker bill, NASCAR knows how important location of that wicker bill is. They put these little pieces here on. That tells them that wicker bill has stayed in the same location the entire time. You could move that down a little bit and really help the performance of the race car. The reason the wicker bill and the roof fin was put on the race car is to increase the drag. They also went to 70 degrees on the rear spoiler versus 45 a year ago. And the reason they did that, it put more drag in the car, slowed the car down on the straightaway. They was able to put a bigger restrictor plate back on the motor, give the cars more power, more throttle response.
The pit reporters asked several drivers about the right strategy, but the consensus is that there is no strategy at Talladega. At the end of the session, Kurt Busch is fastest over Ricky Craven and Kevin LePage. Tony Stewart remains fast in 6th behind 5th place Dale Jarrett, while Bobby Hamilton takes 9th.
The fastest network on Earth welcomes you to the fastest speedway on Earth, where a packed grandstand awaits the Subway 300 NASCAR Busch Series race, presented by Labor Ready.
Next up, the NASCAR Busch Series takes the stage for the Subway 300. It's a warm 81-degree day with 45% humidity stirred by a slight breeze. Compared to Sunday, there isn't nearly as much apprehension about this race, as the series runs the same conservative superspeedway package from their own Daytona race in February. That day saw the field quickly spread out, resulting in only a few minor incidents. The difference is the rules package. Busch teams must run a minimum 1,500-pound front spring and 1,450 in the rear, while Cup teams can run just about any springs they want. The restrictor plate is 1/32 of an inch smaller at 29/30 seconds. There are no wicker bills on the roof or the rear spoiler, which is itself set at 55 degrees, down from 70 in Cup. Despite a popular weekend on the NASCAR schedule, Fox is still not showing this race in some places. Even in New York City, which has a 3-hour window after the end of the Yankees game to at least show the race tape delayed, the network is inexplicably showing reruns of The X-Files, Sheena, and Pamela Anderson's VIP. When the broadcast begins, the engines have already been fired, following a command by... oh no. The field of 43 rolls off pit road. Behind the potent Pontiacs of Joe Nemechek and Randy LaJoie, Jimmy Spencer starts third next to point leader Kevin Harvick. Rolling off fifth is Jeff Purvis, who after his tangle with Nemechek in February was denied his first series win since 1996. Today is his next big chance. Further back in ninth is Bobby Hamilton Jr., whose Carroll Racing team is elected to bring a 1999 Chevrolet Monte Carlo because it ran faster than the current model. Also running a 99 Chevrolet is Rich Bickle, who paired with an RCR engine has put the number 59 Kingsford Glad Chevrolet 11th on the grid. Jason Keller, second in points, rolls off 15th, with Greg Biffle back a distant 31st. In 32nd comes Shauna Robinson, who just hopes for a quiet day after early crashes ended her runs in both Texas and Nashville. Jimmy Johnson starts 29th in a chassis built at Hendrick Motorsports, an early benefit to his impending graduation to Winston Cup. As of now, the Herzog team still doesn't have a replacement named for Johnson. Mike Harmon is back in the field after his own hard crash in Tennessee, only this time he drives a number 77 Pegasus Ford for team owner Tony Hall and starts 40th on the grid. C.W. Skip Smith, a 53-year-old retired police officer from Pennsylvania, makes his series debut from the 27th spot in the number 67 Shopvac Chevrolet. Rounding out the field is ARCA Superspeedway ace Bobby Gerhart in Sasser Motorsports' unsponsored white number 65 Chevrolet. It's his first start since Texas.
Auburn University football coach Tommy Tuberville has the green flag in hand, and we're racing at Talladega.
Green flag. And Harvick is all over the back of Randy LaJoie, pushing him to the start.
On the break, Harvick gives LaJoie a massive shove into the corner, moving LaJoie past Nemechek and into the lead. The two then split up, stranding Nemechek in the middle lane. This allows Spencer to move into third, battling Nemechek for the spot, and both must now contend with Mike Skinner, who gets a big run up high. Further back, Joe Bessie, who started 42nd, pulls on pit road with the blown engine, taking last place without completing a lap. Up front, LaJoie leads Harvick at the stripe, while Jeff Purvis moves to fourth behind Spencer. For a moment, these first four cars break away, but they're soon caught. Among the pursuing pack is Nemechek, who fell from the pole to ninth, but by lap 3 has already cleared Skinner for 7th. On lap 4, Spencer gets under LaJoie for the lead and takes it, opening the door for Purvis to move into second. There's now a 6-car single-file line pulling ahead of the rest of the field, which is yet to sort itself out. By lap 8, the single-file line of leaders grows to 11, and Todd Bodine has moved Buckshot Jones's car up to third. 2 laps later, the first 8 cars pull away from the trailing 3, which includes Jeff Green. In happy hour, Green blew his Roush-prepared engine and didn't have a chance to test the backup. He's told the backup has 1 less horsepower, but it already feels like it's laboring. Just like at Nashville, Green will have to drive distracted due to engine issues. On lap 12, LaJoie gets under Spencer for the lead in turn 1, this time letting Todd into second and a charging Nemechek to third. Spencer is no help, and worse, the trailing pack led by Jay Sauter is now single file and starting to close. On lap 14, David Starr's Pontiac breaks a hinge on his hood, which starts to flap so violently that NASCAR black flags him. Wayne Day's team makes quick repairs, but Starr still loses a couple laps before he returns to the track. On lap 17, Nemechek retakes the lead, and on lap 19 leads the RCR duo of Skinner and Harvick, who have moved to second and third ahead of now fourth place LaJoie. On lap 21, when Starr serves his black flag, Skinner takes the lead from Nemechek, pulling to the high lane entering turn 3. Behind them, the second line of cars catch the leaders, forming a 27-car pack, and a third line is about to join them. LaJoie challenges Harvick for third, and the two nearly bump. First Bodine and Harvick, then LaJoie get stranded in the high lane and fall back. Scott Wimmer qualified 10th and stays with the leaders through the opening laps. But on lap 23, Wimmer's engine blows, and he pulls to the apron. He'll be done for the day in 42nd. The caution doesn't fall for Wimmer, and as Skinner leads Nemechek, the race is for third between Purvis and Spencer. Spencer prevails. Then by lap 24, he and Nemechek have cleared Skinner and are now battling for the lead. Spencer gets help from Green, while Nemechek gets an assist from 14th place starter Mike McLaughlin. Green strands Spencer, allowing Skinner to push him back into the lead, but then the caution falls.
Goes spinning to the infield. Caution is out.
Lots of damage to the rear of that
Well,
car.
he was falling back, and I think the car, maybe the handle had gone away on the car, and he was just trying to ride it out to make a pit stop, but I know this wasn't what he had planned.
Kevin Harvick, the series point leader, breaks loose off the apron of turn 4 and backs into the outside wall. Harvick says someone ran him over while he and other drivers were checking up for another incident, but none of Fox's replays managed to show the contact. Harvick makes it to pit road with heavy damage and is soon pushed back to the garage for extensive repairs. Harvick started this race with the longest active streak of top 5 finishes, 5 in a row, and has no finishes worse than 12th so far in 2001. But as both Harvick's Busch and Cup Series crews get to work, bringing out the frame machine to straighten the chassis, this already promises to be a long afternoon and a potentially costly day in the championship battle. The leaders come down pit road for their first stops of the day. With a fuel window between 50 and 55 laps, teams are aggressive with their strategies. Spencer gets 2 tires and no adjustments for a 10.3 second stop. Nemechek gets the same, but his stops faster at a 9.5, so he keeps the lead. LaJoie takes 2 and considers a gas and go on his next stop. Jeff Green gets a small wedge adjustment to the right rear on top of his right side tires and fuel for an 11-second stop. Lyndon Amick doesn't get any adjustments. About the only drivers to take 4 tires are Jeff Purvis, who gets a track bar adjustment, Todd Bodine, who plans to take 2 tires on his next and final stop, and Shauna Robinson, who does so after only taking rights on her first stop. Left behind is Tim Fedewa, whose crew is looking under the hood. Mike Harmon stays out with a lap David Starr. Harmon leads a lap, gets his 5 bonus points, then pits, handing the lead back to Nemechek. The lap 30 restart is the first crank it up of the weekend. On the restart, Keller plummets from 8th to 20th after a missed shift. Nemechek leads over Skinner. On lap 35, Skinner is stranded up high, and Spencer makes a bid for third, shaking out LaJoie. After complaining of a stumbling engine, Jeff Green wills his car to second on lap 38. Green's team works out a deal with Jimmy Spencer to let Spencer lead and get his 5 bonus points. But first, both need to figure out a way past Nemechek. Running fourth is Mike McLaughlin. Still without a primary sponsor, and with only associate backing from MBNA, McLaughlin says his number 20 struggles to get up front, but runs great when he's getting pushed in traffic. This keeps him in the mix. Right behind McLaughlin, in 5th, is a surprising Kevin Grubb. During the commercial break, Green tries to take the lead from Nemechek, but gets shaken out back to 11th, moving Spencer to 2nd and McLaughlin to 3rd. Now getting featured on the broadcast is Andy Kirby, who on lap 43 is the race's biggest mover, climbing from 41st on the grid to 21st. Just ahead, Jeff Green battles both Greg Biffle and Jeff Purvis. In happy hour, DW said Biffle's car lacked straightaway speed, but seemed to handle well, yet after qualifying 31st, he has yet to contend. One driver who does join the leaders is Kenny Wallace, who gets behind LaJoie after LaJoie takes 5th from Grubb. After failing to qualify for the Cup race, Kenny is looking to turn around his own string of bad luck. He doesn't stay behind LaJoie for long, as the number 7 is now trailing Fluid, earning him the black flag. LaJoie pits out of the top 10, where a NASCAR official waves off the crew. The leak will have to be repaired behind the wall. On lap 50, just after Spencer retakes the lead from Nemechek, Matt Kenseth drops off the pace with a burned piston, his engine note audibly off. He decides to ride it out until the next caution. The race stays green. With 60 laps to go, Spencer leads Nemechek, McLaughlin, Bodine, and Jeff Green, who have pulled away from the field. On lap 56, Hank Parker Jr. makes an unscheduled stop in his number 36 GNC Livewell Chevrolet. The crew looks under the hood and discovers the engine is blown. He'll finish in 41st. Spencer leads the halfway point, significant as no halfway leader of this race has yet gone on to win. On lap 63, with 51 to go, the potential last pit stops are about to begin, and Fox cranks it up. As the second pack of cars catch the leaders, crew members try to work out deals on pit road, their crew chiefs not saying what their tire strategy will be. Many go to Brian Patty, Nemechek's crew chief, or Johnny Allen, who calls the shots for Spencer. Meanwhile, Brad Baker makes an unscheduled stop and dives onto pit road so aggressively that he nearly collides with Robinson. Coming through turns 3 and 4, Ashton Lewis Jr. comes down on the right front of Andy Kirby, and both manage to keep their cars pointed straight. On lap 72, Kevin Harvick refires his engine and returns to pit road, but the car is still so badly damaged that it's driving diagonally. He stops in a stall that returns to the track in 41st. He'll only catch and pass Parker and will take 40th at the checkered flag. A 51-lap green flag run with only one caution in the first 80 laps puts the race on record pace, and with 37 to go, the stops begin. Kevin Grubb comes in with Jimmy Johnson, Shauna Robinson, Tim Fedewa, Jamie McMurray, and Greg Biffle. Spencer should have too. Down the backstretch, his engine stumbles as if he's run out of fuel. The engine refires, then quits again, and 4 crew members frantically push his car to get restarted. It does, and Spencer is on his way. With 35 to go, here comes Nemechek with McLaughlin, Jeff Green, and Purvis, then Jay Sauter, Jason Keller, and Rich Bickle. McLaughlin and Nemechek take 2 tires, but Nemechek's stop is slow due to issues with the right front, handing the lead to the base motorsports car of Chad Little, winless since 1995. Purvis isn't sure whether his crew is changing 4 tires or 2, so he leaves after the crew drops the jack. Only the right sides have been changed. Greg Biffle takes 2 tires. The crew finds a hole in the right rear that they just removed. Marty Houston stalls on pit road, and now his crew is trying to get him push-started. The crew looks under the hood before he finally gets going again. Todd Bodine also stalls, and a spray of ether gets him rolling. Then on lap 80, something breaks loose in Nemechek's right front suspension, cutting down the tire and putting him into the turn 1 wall. He manages to avoid hitting the wall very hard, but the tire then explodes with such force that it shears away much of the passenger side bodywork. The caution falls for only the second time all day, and while his crew bolt on new right-side tires, the driver soon climbs out, done for the day in 39th.
And Chris, Joe Nemechek has climbed from his 87 car. Joe, what happened in the right front?
I'm not real sure. We just stopped and got tires, and it started bouncing
right before I got into turn 1, and I think we must have broke a shock mount or a shock or an eyelet or something broke, and then it poked a hole in the side of the tire and up the track it went, and it just barely hit the wall. But when the tire exploded, it blew the whole side off the car, and it kind of scared me when it exploded. But I was in perfect position. Randy LaJoie was behind me. He's going to give me a push back to the front. Our Cellular One Nortel Networks Pontiac, I think, was the best one here today, but we just didn't quite finish the job.
The caution is a huge help to both Purvis and Spencer, who each gambled on 2 tires and now come in for left sides. Chad Little also pits under this yellow, giving the lead to McLaughlin, with Jeff Green second, Biffle up to third, Kenny Wallace to fourth, and Kevin Grubb back to fifth. None of these drivers even started in the top 10.
How about Biffle up to third after starting 31st?
That's just what makes Talladega so exciting. You just never know. You never know who's going to end up in the front at the end of the day.
On the restart with 28 to go, McLaughlin has to weave through a few cars on the tail end of the lead lap, but still stays ahead of Jeff Green. Behind them, the snarling pack battles 2 and 3 wide. Then between turns 3 and 4, David Green, running his first race for sponsor Aqua Velva, loses a left rear tire.
Oh, here we go, here we go.
1 car at the bottom and 2 up top.
It's the big one.
Oh, there's cars everywhere.
That's the big one.
Not a question of if, but when.
When they get bunched up, particularly on restarts, buddy, you just never know what's going to happen.
You see 92, Jimmy Johnson, the 11. Here's Kenny Wallace and Biffle. They made it through. Marty Houston, who had gotten back on track up there.
You're looking at it the right way, Mike. Just look down here in turn 1 and see who's left.
The wreck involves 16 cars in total, nearly 1/3 of the starting field, with most of them unable to limp their way back to pit road. Both David Green and David Donahue's cars are brought back on separate flatbeds. Jimmy Johnson and Jamie McMurray crashed hard into the inside wall short of pit road. Marty Houston has the wind knocked out of him, and both Johnson and Green say they feel sore but are otherwise okay. Fox's pit reporters catch up with nearly all the drivers involved, including David Starr, who praises the Hans device.
Yeah, the Hans device was great. That was the first time I really got to use it. You know, you wear the Hans device and never really had a chance, and that was the first time. I'll tell you what, I lived by the Hans device. It really worked real good for us. We had a good run at the start of the race, and the hood started to come off. The hood brace broke, and we had to come in for a pit stop to nail the hood back down. We poppered it down, and we got behind 2 or 3 laps, and we were just trying to go to the end, and it's unfortunate that our 31W installation Pontiac didn't make it to the end. We was just trying to make a bad day into bring it home in one piece, and that's not gonna be today.
On the tape, we could see a tire out there. Could you see anything?
You know, what I could see was David Green. I didn't know if another car got into David Green or he lost his tire. Somebody said his tire came off the rim, but all I could see is his car got sideways, and I checked up. Somebody hit me from behind, and I was just a ping pong ball bouncing off all the other cars. But it's a fun place to race. I mean, it's great racing. It's just when that happens, you see what happens. It collects a lot of cars, but you know, if we could just avoid the big wreck, the fans would have seen a great race, and there's still going to be a good race out there. Just hopefully everybody finishes in one piece.
NASCAR confirms that all drivers involved were not injured. The 1 lap to green signal comes with 19 to go, with McLaughlin still leading Jeff Green. Also on the lead lap is Bobby Hamilton Jr., who despite involvement in the wreck, has through 3 pit stops received extensive repairs to both fenders of his old Chevrolet. But now Hamilton's transmission is failing, again. He's lost first and fourth gear, so he lags well back of the field as the green flag falls. Also back on track is Randy LaJoie, who unlike Harvick will catch and pass all the drivers eliminated in the big one, salvaging a 27th place finish. Back underway, McLaughlin still leads Green, and the first 5 cars break away from the pack. But in 6th is Spencer, who's rallying on his 4 fresh tires. Just behind, Keller is running 12th, and just a few laps from capitalizing on a huge points day over Kevin Harvick.
Lap's the last lap for him. He's got to get.
Whoa! That's Jason Keller, 57 cars. Something was going on with that car. Christian Elder nowhere to go in the 38. Something was going wrong with Jason Keller. He dropped to the apron, shot back up the racetrack.
The leaders race to the caution flag.
Here in Talladega. Now trying to get back to the flag, and there's contact between Biffle and the car up on the high side. That is Mike Skinner as they come to the flag.
Keller is uninjured, but no thanks to a flat tire, his streak of 36 straight races without a DNF is over.
I just must have run over something on the racetrack. When you wreck that many race cars, it's hard to get everything clean, but just unfortunate for the Albertsons Ford. Looking pretty good there, and just battled our way back up to top 10 contention, and hoping those leaders get side by side, maybe I could pull something out, but can't do that in the pit area here. But it's a good day for us. We ran up front most of the day, and just didn't end that way.
Now entering the picture under caution is Elton Sawyer, who has climbed to 6th. Sawyer carries the colors of Auburn University, another of the 14 colleges sponsoring Aikens Motorsports through the NCAA's Collegiate Licensing Company. Chad Little, who led briefly, still holds 11th, and Larry Foyt, looking to make up for the good run that went bad in Nashville, is again a solid 14th. McLaughlin still leads, and Fox's cameras watch his wife Katie nervously sitting atop the pit box. There are now 11 laps to go. McLaughlin gets a good jump on Jeff Green. Biffle looks under Skinner, but Spencer gets a run up high to take 3rd, and now challenges Green, who sets after McLaughlin for the lead. At the line, Green leads, but Spencer and Skinner move McLaughlin back up front, dropping Green back to 4th, where Biffle now draws alongside. Up front, it's 2 former NASCAR modified stars on the sport's biggest oval as Spencer battles McLaughlin.
Spencer comes up to block Skinner. This is like tic-tac for all the dough right here.
Yeah. Spencer's got a run on him this time, and of course McLaughlin.
Skinner, he's down. Spencer was in the infield.
Took him all the way almost to the grass, and Skinner's done that before. He knows that's not the right thing to do.
That's the reason they don't have grass back there anymore.
That's right.
It didn't work.
McLaughlin on the inside by himself, back for the lead.
But Skinner's going to help. Well, no, Skinner doesn't know who to help.
Jeff Green's going to the bottom, though, in the 10 car. He's going to help McLaughlin. Spencer, they touch. They go right out of racetrack here.
They're out of racetrack.
He's down on the apron. Boy, that's a dangerous move when you get down on the apron like that.
Trouble, one car's in the wall, in the tri-oval. Purvis spins across the field, and everybody gets through. Now,
these guys are racing up front. They're still racing back to the green, back to the caution flag.
The racetrack is clear now. I don't know if this will be for the race, but they want to race all the way back to the start-finish line to see that caution flag.
Mike McLaughlin's got a fast race car, guys. He has been able to hold Spencer off, and I didn't think he'd be able to.
Todd Bodine in the 0-0. He's trying to get as many positions as he can here in 3 and 4.
Bodine up for 4th. The first 3 are single file, but there's still a mile to go to the caution flag.
And this is what we hate about the start-finish line being way down here where it is. Watch this. You're going to have a real race on your hands just to get to the start-finish line.
Look at Spencer on the apron. Skinner down to the bottom.
McLaughlin did what he had to do, and he holds on to the flag.
I got to tell you, that McLaughlin car is fast.
Under caution, Spencer's team discusses strategy with Skinner's. The two worked well together in practice, but both ran faster whenever Spencer was up front. With Spencer second ahead of third-place Skinner, and McLaughlin's car needing a push to run its fastest, both feel they have a legitimate shot to steal the win. But when the green flag flies, with 4 laps to go, Skinner jumps to the outside of Spencer, leaving Spencer to battle with Green. Spencer takes the 3rd spot back, and the race is on. Further back, Hamilton's faulty transmission fails altogether, and he limps back to the pits in 23rd. The green stays out, and Skinner tries to take the lead from McLaughlin. He can't do it, so in comes Todd Bodine, holding the low lane with Skinner up high. Both are door-to-door with 2 laps to go, Spencer and Green behind them, and Kenny Wallace and Elton Sawyer fighting their way back to the front. Spencer forms the high lane down the backstretch, stranding Skinner in the middle. Now, all by himself, he pulls alongside McLaughlin.
Spencer's the guy to beat. He's got the car. If he can just get room to pass.
And he needs some help, Darrell. He has no help up there right now.
Nobody seems to want to go with him. They all seem to want to help Mike McLaughlin.
But he moves the car away. That helps his car accelerate. He's coming down to the white flag.
And he edges McLaughlin almost onto the apron. McLaughlin leads the white flag lap by 3 feet.
Got to get behind somebody here.
And back comes McLaughlin.
Boy, he got a run off the middle of 1 and 2. Todd Bodine, he right up on the rear bumper here, turn 2. Half a lap to go.
Katie, can you stand it?
Both sides of the track. Pull that outside and drop down to the inside. Work both sides.
Look at him. He don't know where to go. He don't know where to block the bottom
Yes,
of the
he
top.
does. He's staying downstairs, Larry.
Here they
if
come.
Spencer beats him up top, let him go.
He's doing what I thought he should do. He's working both sides. If If Jimmy Spencer can't get a run off of 4 here to the line, I believe the guy's going to hold him off.
He knows. Look at him, right to the bottom. He knows he's got to protect that bottom.
He just left him right there with that drive to the bottom.
Will it be enough? 75 races since he's been to victory lane. Mike McLaughlin.
What a run.
Wins the Subway 300. Spencer is second. Green is third.
Looks like Bodine had Skinner for fourth, and Skinner will finish fifth.
It cannot be overemphasized. Mike McLaughlin doesn't have a primary sponsor, and until last week in Nashville, hadn't led a single lap of a Busch Series race since 1999. He'd never even won on a superspeedway, though he'd finished third at Talladega in 1998 and sixth at Daytona just this past February. Today, none of that matters. For the sixth time in his career, and the first time since Charlotte in October of 1998, 75 races ago, Magic Shoes Mike McLaughlin wins a Busch Series race.
We've been trying for 2 minutes to get to you. Are you okay? Can your nerves stand this?
Oh, I'm so excited for him. I can't stand it. He needed this run so bad, and I don't know. I'm just so happy for him. He said, "Oh my God, I got a Speedway win!" I'm so excited.
Well, you wore us out watching you.
I wore myself out. I'm exhausted, but I'm ready to party now.
Go celebrate.
We need a sponsor, too. We need a...
Let's go.
Mike McLaughlin climbs out to the jubilation of his crew. It is a big, big day. He, wow, dives into their arms. This guy had not even led a lap until last week, since October of 1999. And here he is now, victory lane, the biggest win of his entire life. Covered with beer, surrounded by his crew and his wife, Katie. What a moment. Magic Shoes, how bad did you want to win that thing?
I wanted it bad. It was a short track race. That's the way I looked at it. Protect the bottom, do what you had to do. I'll tell you what, my little buddy.
That's Max.
Max, hey buddy. My little buddy. These guys are awesome. Joe Gibbs put together a great group here. Tim Shutt, all these guys, great stops. We did what we had to do.
You protected the bottom. I was listening to your spotter telling you at one point, give it up, and you stuck with it. You hung on.
Well, that's what got us to the front, so I figured the only thing to do was to stick with it. And I'll tell you what, this is a great organization. It's going to make somebody a nice home when they come on board as a major sponsor, I'm telling you. And I hope Dad was watching, man.
All right, congratulations to Chris Myers.
Jimmy Spencer finishes second, just 125 thousandths of a second short of his own first Busch win since '98. He's less than pleased with the outcome.
I'll tell you what, Mike McLaughlin drove a very dirty race. He won, though, but I don't forget.
You were pointing fingers at someone. Was that Todd Bodine?
Well, he's supposed to be my teammate, and you saw what the hell he did, too. But that's fine, you know, because Jimmy Spencer never forgets.
Spencer continues. He won, but the way he drove, he didn't deserve to win, he says. I know you can't race in the grass, and he put me down there twice. And I tried him on the outside, and he about put me in the wall. Mike just drove me right down into the grass. That's why he doesn't drive a Winston Cup car, and I don't even have a tire mark on my race car.
Jeff Hammond, real quick. Jimmy Spencer, some stinging remarks afterwards. Sounded like Tony Soprano saying he ran a dirty race, referring to McLaughlin. He said, I'll never forget. What did he mean by that?
He just means he's mad because he couldn't do it to him. That's exactly what he means.
Was McLaughlin dirty or not?
Not in my way of looking at it. I thought he did an excellent job of protecting the inside. When you're out front with 2 or 3 laps to go, hey, that thing's going to get wide. It's going to get real wide. If I could make that thing as wide as the racetrack, I would too. The man's wanting to win a race, Jimmy. Give him a break.
McLaughlin can't help but laugh. Jimmy said dirty racing? That's the pot calling the kettle black, isn't it? He says. I had to block any run. I would have been a fool not to do that. He ran me hard. I thought it was a good race. Jeff Green, who finishes third, is likewise unimpressed by Spencer's own antics. Jimmy putting it in the grass to pass people isn't right. Jimmy thinks everybody is scared of him, but I'm not. I won't tear anybody's car up on purpose, but he does a lot of stuff on purpose. I don't look forward to these restrictor plate races. It looked like Days of Thunder off 4 there one time. This is crazy, just crazy. It's too nail-biting for me, and with Spencer in the mix, that makes it even more exciting. It doesn't matter where he runs, in the grass, on the apron, it doesn't matter. Unfortunately, we've got to race with guys like that. Todd Bodine takes home 4th, with Mike Skinner in 5th, just ahead of Elton Sawyer. Jay Sauter takes 7th, then Kevin Grubb in 8th, his first top 10 finish of the year. Greg Biffle takes 9th, and Kenny Wallace is 10th. With both Harvick and Keller wrecked out of the race, Biffle takes the point lead by 3 points over Harvick and 49 over Keller. Green is now 4th, another 5 points behind, and McLaughlin is 5th. Just outside the top 10, Chad Little comes home 11th for his best run of the young season. Same for Larry Foyt, who takes 12th. Tim Sauter takes 15th despite heavy fender damage suffered in the big one spot ahead of Andy Kirby, whose 16th place run is his new career best. Mark Green's 17th place finish is his best since Darlington, much needed after 4 DNFs in his previous 6 starts. As celebrations continue in Victory Lane, the grid is lined up for round 2 of the International Race of Champions. After 12 cars took the green in Daytona, only 11 do today. Unlike in 1993, when the deaths of both Alan Kulwicki and Davey Allison led to other drivers completing their seasons, IROC will not field Dale Earnhardt's car at all. Among those remaining is Tony Stewart, who will now replace the injured Gilles de Ferran for the remainder of the season. Talladega has historically put on some of the best races in IROC, and 2001 promises to be no different. In testing the previous Tuesday, Dave Marcus, Jim Sauter, and Andy Hillenberg have so much fun driving these Pontiac Firebirds that they run longer than the race distance and only come to pit road after running out of fuel. In the race, Tony Stewart draws the pole but is shuffled back, opening the door for teammate Bobby Labonte to wage war with Jeff Burton. On lap 8, Jeff Green, fresh off his run in the Busch race, looks to Burton's inside and with help from Eddie Cheever takes the lead. Green ends up leading the most laps, 20 of the race's 38, and seeks to become the first Busch Series driver to win in IROC since Randy LaJoie won at Michigan in 1997. But on lap 11, Cheever takes the lead, entering turn 3, then Ricky Rudd on lap 13, and Stewart once more on lap 14. Dale Jarrett takes the lead on lap 21, already the 9th lead change of the race, and the 6th different leader. But coming off turn 4, Green pulls back up front with Stewart in 2nd and Mark Dismore in a surprising 3rd. Frustrated with how his 2000 season ended, Dismore fights to stay up front, throwing a block on fellow open-wheeler Buddy Lazier. With 6 laps to go, Dismore has been shaken out of line again. Green retakes the lead with Burton back to 2nd and Labonte 3rd, Cheever in 4th with Kenny Brack up to 5th. With 5 to go, Rudd battles to the high side of Cheever, and Brack to take 4th, then the top 8 cars start to pull away. With 3 to go, Labonte tries for 3rd, while Brack makes an aggressive move of his own.
4 cars have lost, appeared to have lost a draft.
Oh, Kenny Brack on the grass a little bit there.
To the grass.
They like running on the below the apron there.
That's aggressive. There you go.
I told you.
Everyone keeps it straight. That is, until they get to turn 4.
And he will earn the 5 bonus points. Jarrett hard into the wall. Lazier spins around and
Mark Dismore through pit lane.
Yep. Caution flag is out. Jarrett took a hard shot to the outside wall. Lazier slides to the grass, and he will keep going, it would appear, but
Lazier looks okay, I think. Yeah.
Dale Jarrett's car is stopped, and let's look for that movement inside there.
Cheever gets into the left rear of Lazier, who hooks Jarrett into the outside wall. Jarrett walks away, while Lazier pits for fresh tires. The final restart comes with just 3 laps to go.
This double file restart adds another little twist to what could happen here in the last 3 laps.
Oh boy, there it goes. Scott Goodyear got it jumped out there on the apron.
Already 4 wide racing on the apron.
I'll tell you guys, the fans are on their feet. They know there's a lot of expectation for these last few laps.
Look at this.
There we go, leaning on each other.
4 wide into the corner. Lazier thinks better of it. He'll drop back behind Ricky Rudd. Meanwhile, we have a 6-car breakaway, at least for the moment. Lazier, remember, has fresh tires, so his car may have a slight advantage, but then again, he's back at the rear of the field.
Green holds the lead over Brack, but then comes Bobby Labonte.
He started last and finished last at Daytona, but Talladega has been a different story. He has led since lap number 21, but can he lead the final 2? They begin to shuffle around.
There goes some moves.
Bumping. Brack bump. And here comes Burton to the inside.
And there's Goodyear in there.
And he and Brack may have come together briefly.
Eddie Cheever was trying to push Labonte by, and now look where he's going. He's going to the rear. He got the wrong position.
Blue car Lazier with his new tires.
And there's Labonte underneath
guys.
Green.
And Bobby Labonte takes the lead as they come down.
Oh, Kenny.
The white flag.
He has the draft there. Who's in second place?
Labonte's looking back saying, stay next to each other, guys. But
he dragged Scott Goodyear up to third. Come on, guys. I tell you, they've got a good position here.
Bobby Labonte won this race last year. Can he do it again?
Got
right behind him.
Three open wheel guys there in second, third, and fourth, guys.
Look how low.
Some dicing going on here. Bumping.
Buddy Lazier out of control momentarily. Well, here they come through the third and fourth turns on the last lap of the second round of the True Value IROC 25 Series. Up front, it's Bobby Labonte. Kenny Brack running second. Then it's Buddy Lazier. They come onto the trioval for the final time and pass by the main grandstand as the fans are cheering. And they race to the line, and it's going to be Bobby Labonte winning 2 years in a row at Talladega.
Labonte leads just 7 laps for his second career IROC victory and second in a row in this race. It turns out to be an emotional victory lane.
The thing that means the most to me today is that last year we beat Earnhardt here, and we had a lot of good competitors today, but Earnhardt, this is for him because it's this series, just was a lot. This series was a lot with him in it. So anyway, it was great win today, and just glad to come home first. And the 3 cars always, number 3 is always on our mind.
While there has not been another Winston Cup Series fatality in the 2 months since Dale Earnhardt's accident, there have been many in the world of motorsports. The race is held barely a week after a tragic accident during sprint car practice at the Knoxville Raceway on April 14th. Coming off turn 4 on his third warm-up lap, 30-year-old Mark Wilson strikes the barrier and flips. He's pronounced dead of head injuries at the Knoxville Area Community Hospital. On Sunday, April 1st, as the Winston Cup Series competes in Texas, James Neves, president of the New Smyrna Quarter Midget Racing Association, is working at the Little New Smyrna Speedway, a track for children age 5 to 15. During a caution, Neves is repairing part of a low wooden wall when a 6-year-old driver accidentally hits him in the ankles. The impact from the child's 235-pound midget car throws Neves in the air, and he lands on his head. He's transported to Halifax Medical Center in critical but stable condition, where he steadily improves. By the 12th, he's sitting up and able to have limited conversations. On the same day as Neves' accident, 41-year-old Al Papini III is competing in a NASCAR late model race at the Rockford Speedway in Illinois. On lap 34 of the 40-lap feature, Papini is running third when his new Dodge Avenger suddenly turns left. It careens out of control through the infield, then strikes the outside wall so hard that the car tumbles out of the track. Emergency crews extract Papini from the car and airlift him to Rockford Memorial Hospital, where he's first declared dead of severe chest injuries. The coroner will discover that Papini had died of a heart attack before he ever hit the wall, and this likely caused him to lose control in the first place. 1 week later, on the day of the Virginia 500 in Martinsville, the same Rockford track will host the RE/MAX Touring Series, NASCAR's Midwestern counterpart to the All-Pro Series in the East and the Southwest Tour in the West. Among the expected entrants is 50-year-old Michael Roberts, a single father of a 10-year-old daughter. Eager to get into racing, Roberts spares no expense building his first race car. He spends nearly $100,000 on it and begins the paperwork to get his own Hans device. He also flies in from Daytona one Michael Loescher, a NASCAR modified driver turned racing instructor, for some one-on-one instruction. Loescher had previously instructed both Jeff Gordon and Adam Petty. On Saturday, March 24th, Roberts, Loescher, crew chief Ed Holmes, and a friend meet at the 3/8 mile I-44 Speedway near Lebanon, Missouri. Roberts takes to the track at his number 90, and a series of runs gradually picks up speed. I'm looking right at him, talking to him, saying, "Look way ahead, get your line," says Loescher, and all of a sudden I see smoke pouring from the tires. At first I think he's blown an engine, but he hasn't, and it's not a hung throttle. Roberts may have simply stepped on the brake without letting off the gas, a common mistake for drivers learning to brake with their left foot. The car veers to the right and slams the wall with the right front at over 80 miles per hour. Loescher can't hear Roberts on the radio. He and the crew run 400 feet across the track to the scene. My first thought was, these damn NASCAR cars, he says. They're too rigid. They don't have enough crush zone in them. Indeed, the damage to the right front of Roberts' car is eerily similar to that of Earnhardt suffered in February. When Loescher drops the window net, what he sees turns him pale. Blood pouring out of his nose, his mouth, his ears. Not just running out, pouring out, just like you were pouring it out of a 5-gallon pail. For weeks, Loescher can't sleep. When he closes his eyes, it's all he can see. Emergency crews rush to the scene, but Roberts dies just 10 seconds after impact. The cause, a basilar skull fracture. Now I know what Kenny Schrader saw, says Loescher. If people, all those fans, saw what I saw, they would be on NASCAR so hard to change things. It doesn't make any difference whether you're Dale Earnhardt or Michael Roberts. They were both killed for the same reason, and if they don't change things, this isn't going to stop. It's a sentiment also felt by writer David Poole for the Charlotte Observer. If the sport suffers another tragedy at Talladega, he writes, that may very well be a knockout blow. In deciding not to change the rules that keep the cars bunched up so tightly on the tracks where carburetor restrictor plates are used, NASCAR is pushing all of its chips onto the table, and gambling, nothing will go wrong. By race morning, the media's rhetoric intensifies to the brink of panic. The opening sentence of Larry Woody's article for the Tennessean calls today's race Terror-Dega, or Taladanger. Jeff Burton is quoted about how much his wife Kim hates watching him race on the superspeedways. I'm worried, says Mark Martin. I'll be glad when this one is over. It would be wonderful if we could win, but it would be all right if we just get out of here Sunday night. Jimmy Spencer, who had driven so aggressively himself on Saturday, takes a fatalistic approach. I believe Big E would strap on his helmet and try to win a race, he says. That's what I'm going to do. The sport's going to go on no matter who we lose. It sounds grim, but it's true. Life goes on. Tony Stewart is outright angered by all the hysteria, and vents to writer Mike Mulhern. We try to forget Daytona, but you guys keep throwing it in our faces, he says. We've got to go out there Sunday and go through potentially what we had to go through at Daytona, and we appreciate you guys trying to put the horror into our sport. This race is going to be no different than what we normally do at Talladega. Even though Jeannie Zalasko already asked him about the Daytona wreck during qualifying, Chris Myers asks him again.
And the fans saw you were involved in that crash at Daytona, walked away from that. When you get in the car today, because it's a super speedway, does that enter your mind at all?
No, we've had 7 other races in between then and now, and you know, I've been in worse wrecks in sprint cars and midgets in the past than I've ever been in the Winston Cup car so far. And I guess the best thing that happened at Daytona when I hit the wall the first time is it knocked me out, so I don't really remember the rest of the ride. And I think that's God's way of saying you're going to be a part of something that's going to be really big and spectacular, but you don't really need to be a part of it so you can sleep through it.
Stewart responds with a little trolling of his own.
We're going back to Indy. I'm actually going as a car owner, though. I'm fielding a 2-car team. Matt Yoakum's driving the first car, and I haven't got the details figured out yet, but Darrell Waltrip is driving the second car. So
there you go.
You definitely can crew chief on this. I'm going to crew chief the first car.
I got to ask something real quickly.
As the pre-race continues, Zalasko hosts a segment about how the drivers' wives handled the stress of watching their husbands race on the superspeedways.
It's always made me nervous, you know, because they are going at such high speeds and the big packs of cars make it even more, you know, frightening event. It's great for the fans, but maybe it's not so great for the relatives to watch because, you know, that's your heart and soul out there and you don't want a little, you know, anything to go wrong. And so it is nerve-wracking and scary for the wives.
In every Cup race since Daytona, Dale Earnhardt's absence has been part of the story. But here at the scene of his final victory, it's felt more acutely. This race would have seen Earnhardt attempt his 11th career win at Talladega and his 2nd in a row. It would have also marked his record 656 consecutive start, breaking his tie with Terry Labonte. The track is painted a large number 3 on the banking behind turn 4, facing the track entrance. Earnhardt flags still fly from mobile homes in the infield. One belongs to fan William Dodd, who says, looking around, you wouldn't know he wasn't here. Also in attendance are Roy and Jane Cubbage, who nearly sold their tickets after they witnessed Earnhardt's crash firsthand. Instead, they put number 3 decals on their RV and made the trip. Another, one Jenny Taylor, sums it up. Earnhardt was Talladega, she says. This is his home. Weeks earlier, Larry McReynolds suggests the field should be led by one of Earnhardt's cars alongside Davey Allison's, but instead the pace car is an ordinary Pontiac Grand Prix. On this night, Fox will air a new episode of its Beyond the Glory series about Earnhardt's life. Back in Daytona, Earnhardt said this when asked about the aggressive racing on display leading into the 500.
I don't think you'll see maybe from 18th to first in 4 laps, but you will see great racing. It's been great so far in practice and all that stuff. And the Budweiser Shootout was a great race. I think it's really made it more competitive, better for us as race drivers to be able to draft with each other and work with each other. But it's going to be a lot tighter race here at the tighter racetrack. Daytona's a little tighter than Talladega. They do need to put an out-of-bounds line down here, though, in the straightaways. Maybe 3 wide is the max, and if you go 4 wide, they black flag you or something. But
whether or not Earnhardt was joking, we'll never know. But after a wild finish to Saturday's Busch race, Mike Helton takes it seriously. In the drivers' meeting, he gives a stern warning. The yellow line separating the racing surface from the apron is now out of bounds, and merely crossing that line will result in a penalty. If we feel a move below or move coming from below the yellow line was unnecessary, you can look for a black flag, he says. Be prepared, and we'll see you at the trailer after the race and let you know how much of your argument we'll listen to. After this, Michael Waltrip performs what Stewart calls a small sermon, promising his fellow competitors, "I'll take care of y'all if y'all take care of me." His words lead to a somber garage area, the drivers quiet and focused. Yet Fox fails to present Helton's rule change as anything significant. No one on the broadcast even mentions it until Dr. Dick Bergeron brings it up as Sunday's field is on the backstretch, coming to the green flag.
Talladega has some history, this track's a scary sight. Even though he stuffs his face all day, Jeff Hammond, he's all right. Well, the race is next and I can't wait, we'll go up to the booth. Mike, Larry, and DW, these guys have no clue. Oh, Fox announcers, don't get mad at me. We're just messing with y'all, Fox is the place to be. The Talladega 500 is next on Fox.
During pre-race ceremonies, the Reverend Hal Marchman delivers the invocation, just as he had in the Daytona 500.
We thank thee for this great gathering of your people, and we stop to say that you are our God and we are your children, and bless the activities this day. Shalom and amen.
The band Ricochet performs the national anthem. And giving the command to start engines is the lead singer of Alabama, Randy Owen.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
This is the Talladega 500, the second straight Winston Cup race without a title sponsor. It could have been the UPS 500, but discussions with Dale Jarrett's sponsor stalled in March. Of its 43 starters, NASCAR officials count 24 drivers wearing the Hans, with another 9 using either the Hutchins device or a different type of restraint. Among those using the Hans are both Rusty Wallace and Mark Martin, who had both resisted using it in the past. Only 10 of the starters aren't wearing any kind of restraint, including both front row starters, Stacy Compton and Sterling Marlin. Compton revels in the attention he gets for his first career Winston Cup pole. His hometown is listed as Hurt, Virginia, but it's actually Grit, Virginia. Grit just happens to be so small that it doesn't have a post office. Chad Knaus, his crew chief, says Compton could be the series' next first-time winner, and remarks that this car is excellent. Regardless, Darrell Waltrip picks Dale Jr. to win. Larry McReynolds takes Bill Elliott, and Jeff Hammond goes for Jeremy Mayfield. Fox's starting grid graphic is edited badly. Bobby Hamilton, Robert Presley, Todd Bodine, John Andretti, and Mike Wallace are each shown twice. It is picture-perfect weather for a race, 79 degrees with 45% humidity and a slight breeze to the southeast.
The widest, fastest, steepest superspeedway on Earth.
It all seems so easy here, so easy, but it happens so fast.
Okay, pull your belts tight, spotter, take care of them. You got 2 spotters here, one on the front stretch, one on the back stretch. Long way down to this start-finish line. Not here in the trial, but like at Daytona, all the way headed down the short chute into turn 1. Green flag coming.
Darrell, are you hopeful or nervous?
Well, right now you're just real tentative. You don't know what to expect. You don't know what your car's going to do. You just like to get going, shake off those butterflies, get into a rhythm, and then start racing.
Green flag, and Stacy Compton steps out with a lead.
On the break, Compton gets a big jump on Sterling Marlin, but Ricky Craven and Dale Jarrett form up in the high lane to reel in the dodges. Craven's backup engine is up to full song for the first time, and on lap 2, he's trailing a 3-car breakaway led by Marlin and Compton. Heading into turn 3, Bill Elliott in 4th and Mark Martin in 5th close on Craven, while Tony Stewart works under Jarrett and Rusty Wallace in a bid for 6th. Meanwhile, at the back, Johnny Benson Jr. is about to lose Ward Burton's draft. Compton still leads at the start of the silent lap 3, then moves low as Elliott makes a bid on Craven for 3rd. Down the backstretch, Craven gets stranded up high and drops back. Marlin now makes his move, looking under Compton for the lead in the tri-oval. He clears Compton with Elliott now 2nd, Martin in 3rd, Stewart in 4th, then Michael Waltrip, Kevin Harvick, Jerry Nadeau, and Jarrett. On lap 5, the top 10 have pulled away from the 3-wide pack behind them, Marlin still leading over Elliott. Harvick looks to the outside of Waltrip for 5th, but no one goes with him and he drops back. Riding the elevator now is Craven, surging back on the high lane. But in the tri-oval he's stranded again, and back the tide ride goes. Marlin hugs the yellow line as the leaders stay single file. Jeremy Mayfield takes last from Benson. Dave Blaney nearly loses it off turn 2. And just like Daytona, back from 42nd on the grid, Ron Hornaday Jr. has charged up to 17th in only 6 laps. Also looking racy is Casey Atwood, who's driving the car Bill Elliott won the pole with in Daytona. On lap 7, Atwood threads the needle between Jeff Gordon and Mike Wallace in a race off turn 2. It's lap 8, and Harvick in 10th looks high and this time has help from Houston. By lap 9, Jason Leffler tags onto Houston's rear bumper, but the trio can't advance past 6th place Nadeau. Waltrip then jumps out of line ahead of Harvick and now works to the outside of 4th place Stewart. Back from commercial on lap 12 and the outside line still hasn't advanced. Meanwhile, Dale Jarrett is back to his strategy from Daytona. He's dropped to last place behind Benson and Brett Bodine. Despite being caught up in the big one in February, the confident Yates team estimates Jarrett only needs 10 laps to get to the front and won't even think about positioning themselves until 60 to go. On lap 14, Harvick and Houston get impatient and jump to the outside of Waltrip in turn 3. Now joining the battle is Buckshot Jones, the Georgia Pacific Dodge running just behind Nadeau, Hornaday, and Compton. Jeff Gordon, meanwhile, is still mired in traffic, trying to race past Joe Nemechek with help from a climbing Ward Burton. Joining them is Waltrip, who's been shaken out of the lead battle. Entering turn 1 on lap 16, Nemechek cuts left across the right front fender of Atwood. Jr. zips past up high, but Mike Skinner lets both Atwood and Nemechek in line, avoiding a crash. Now Atwood has to contend with Skinner, who looks under him in turn 3 and has a line of cars behind him. At the start of lap 17, nothing's changed up front, with Marlin leading Elliott, Martin, and Stewart, but behind the top 4 is now 5th place Nadeau, 6th place Hornaday, 7th place Jones, and a fight for 8th between Gordon and Compton. Hornaday takes a peek up high, but no one goes with him until Compton. Compton tries to move higher, but now he's stranded as Nemechek pushes Hornaday in the middle lane. Bobby Labonte enters the picture in his rebuilt car from Daytona, working the high lane behind Atwood. Down the backstretch on lap 19, the top 5 remains the same, while Hornaday leads the middle with Jones up high and Bobby looking higher still. Entering the tri-oval, Gordon and Ward jump to the middle line and set after Stewart, trying to advance once again. On the 20th lap, all 43 starters are basically in one pack, with 4 cars trailing and the top 5 practically untouchable. But back from commercial on lap 24, Nadeau has jumped to the outside line, and crossing the stripe to start lap 25, he's finally alongside 3rd place Martin. "Everything's fine," says Martin over the radio, "I'm just riding." Meanwhile, 3.9 seconds back, Jarrett remains in last with some debris on his grille. He had even more a moment earlier, but his team was able to work out a deal with Benson's team to give him a bump, dislodging much of it. Joining Jarrett at the back is Compton, the pole sitter, who now says he's overheating with his water at 180 degrees and oil at 220. As the outside line continues to struggle for every spot, the Andy Petrie Racing teammates start their own advance. On lap 30, Nemechek tries to form a middle line around the 10th spot, then gets back in line. Hamilton tries the high lane in the tri-oval, getting a boost from Harvick and Jeff Purvis. Hamilton continues to try the high lane on lap 31, now with Rusty Wallace and Dave Marcus behind him. Back up front, it's not until lap 32 that Nadeau pulls alongside second place Elliott, and the next time by, Ward Burton shoves the number 25 car into the lead, only the second lead change in the first 33 laps. Ward now battles Marlin for second, with Hornaday up to third. But during the commercial break, Skinner pulls to Nadeau's outside to take the lead, and Marlin is voluntarily dropped back to 36th ahead of Craven. On lap 38, Skinner now leads Gordon, Blaney, and Nadeau, and fifth place Nemechek is breaking away from the pack behind, bringing up Loeffler, Mike Wallace, and Hamilton. On lap 41, Jeff Purvis is up to 11th and gets an attaboy from the booth.
That's Jeff Purvis in that 51 car. This was the sponsor that was actually going to be on Kenny Wallace's car. Kenny Wallace in the 27 car, they missed the race, moved the Subway sponsorship over to Jeff Purvis.
Oh, yes.
Finch car.
Would you pass me a little gray coupon for my Subway?
Gosh.
Now that would be down in the Hollywood Hotel.
Oh, that's right.
Kenny missed his first race in 5 years. You see the autism ribbon on the side of the James Finch owns 51. Nice of them to carry that. This being National Autism Awareness Month. Purvis running in 11th place in a car that came here unsponsored, but made the show.
The next time by, Gordon takes the lead for the first time, with Skinner now second and Nadeau in third. The trio opened up an advantage over an impressive Loeffler in fourth. Green flag stops are already approaching, and even though Mike McLaughlin ran all 113 laps on the same left side tires on Saturday, everyone's looking at a 4-tire change. Still clean and green, the racing continues. Ken Schrader challenges Gordon for the lead with Blaney behind, and Matt Kenseth is now battling Ward for third. On lap 46, Schrader takes the lead, but Gordon gets him back in turn 3, leading to a door-to-door battle for second between Skinner and Schrader. A perfect time for the first to crank it up. As Schrader continues to battle Gordon, Kevin LePage is the first to make a stop, coming in early on lap 48. The next time by, the Evernham cars of Elliott and Atwood pit, along with Steve Park and Craven. Schrader now leads on lap 50 as Hornaday pits with Marlin and Blaney. Marlin gets 2 chassis adjustments, then sputters for a moment as he gets back up to speed. Waltrip comes in and pits too close to the wall, causing a slow stop. John Andretti pits, but his crew lets a wheel roll into the infield grass. When Schrader pits, Kenseth takes the lead, but the M&M's Pontiac has been out too long. Just like when he last ran the car in the Budweiser shootout, Schrader has run out of fuel and stalls on pit road. By the time his engine refires, he's lost all of his drafting help. Gordon pits on lap 51 for 4 tires and a Panhard bar adjustment. Jeff Burton and Skinner are in too. Skinner stays in Gordon's tire tracks as they leave the pits. Skinner says his car was awesome earlier, but it's now picked up a vibration. Stewart's Jr., Kurt Busch, and Terry Labonte leave the pits, Terry with debris hanging off the right rear of his Chevrolet. Stewart says his car is tight, so he gets a track bar adjustment along with his 4 tires and fuel, Kenseth gets an air pressure adjustment in every tire but his right rear. Elliott Sadler leads lap 51 as the trailing Mayfield and Jarrett pit. Jarrett says his car is a bit loose and gets adjustments. Mayfield's crew gets mixed up on their hand signals, causing them to drop the jack before the left rear tire is secure. The delay causes him to lose the draft, just like Schrader. Martin comes in for 4 tires and 2 rounds of wedge as his car is a bit loose. He thinks about getting 3 rounds, but doesn't want his car to get too tight. Also pitting are Robert Presley, Harvick, Benson, Compton, Rusty, Nemechek, and Marcus. Benson has a long stop. Up front are Martin and Kenseth, but the pack of Elliott, Atwood, Gordon, and Craven get a huge run up high, putting Elliott back in the lead. Andretti serves his penalty for the loose wheel on pit road and is the first to lose a lap, dropping to last place by lap 56. Fox's trivia question asks when was the latest in a season the Cup Series champion got his first win of the year. The answer is 18 races, which occurred in 1973 when Benny Parsons won Bristol with help from Johnny Utzman. On lap 57, with stops complete and the green still out, Gordon takes the lead from Elliott. Craven tries to make a move into turn 3, but Gordon holds him off, and the Tide car again falls back. The next time by, Gordon leads Hornaday, Mike Wallace, Andy Houston, and Buckshot Jones. On lap 60, Hornaday completes his rally from 42nd to 1st with help from Mike Wallace, and the field is now in full 3-wide formation. At the line, Burton stays low with Hornaday in the middle and Houston up high. Ahead lies trouble as they're catching the stranded Mayfield, who holds up Hornaday in the middle lane. This moves Houston to the front, but it's a dogfight now with Ward, who advances to the front on lap 63. It's just as much of a storm behind. On lap 64, Marcus jumps high, and Kurt looks even higher, nearly getting into the wall as the field spreads 5 wide. Up front, it's now Ward over 2nd place Ricky Rudd, and 3rd place Jeff Burton, then Gordon in 4th and Craven in 5th. By the end of the next commercial break on lap 68, Gordon is back up front ahead of Nemechek, with Tony Stewart suddenly in 3rd, but Marlin charging back as leader of the inside line. Still in the mix is the lapped Mayfield, who entering turn 1 on lap 69 attempts to get under Gordon to get his lap back, using drafting help from Junior. But Junior tries to get past Mayfield, and Mayfield throws the block, allowing Nemechek to squeeze by in the middle with help from Stewart. Stewart shoves Nemechek all the way to the lead. The first lap, Front Row Joe is led in a cup race all season. Coming into the tri-oval on lap 70, Stewart on the inside line makes a move on Nemechek for the lead, but Gordon stays with his fellow Chevrolet, and Nemechek stays up front with Leffler, Rusty, Todd Bodine, and Kurt Busch behind them. Down the backstretch, Rusty cuts out of line to take 3rd from Leffler, but Todd doesn't go with him and takes 4th from Rusty. The leaders catch and lap the stranded Schrader, who drops back in the high lane. On lap 73, all the rookie contenders running 25th or better, with Harvick surprisingly the worst of the group. Meanwhile, Dave Marcus is making some moves.
And Marcus has been running in that main pack all day long. He turned 60 years old in March.
And that's somewhat like his teammate Kevin Harvick behind him, because Dave Marcus is in a Richard Childress Racing car, a Richard Childress Racing engine. They left Kevin Harvick's Busch team down here to pit Dave Marcus today.
That's great. One of Marcus's friends from up north, Bob Pulvereri, on the pole for the modified race in Thompson, Connecticut today, 65 years old.
Wow, that's encouraging.
I don't know what they've got, Darrell, but I'm going to want some.
That's very encouraging.
You bet.
I mean, I'm only 54, so maybe I'll lay out and come back and run for a rookie this year.
Look at Marcus. You talk about not being a rookie. He goes to the high side, making 4 wide of that 71 car.
Got her up on the outside and wound her up.
He got a run.
On lap 75, Leffler looks to the outside of 2nd place Gordon in turns 1 and 2, but just like he did with Rusty, Todd bails on him and moves to 3rd, letting Leffler fall to 5th in front of Buckshot Jones. The lap after, Bodine takes the lead from Nemechek, with Busch up to 2nd, Hamilton in 3rd, Atwood 4th, then Marlin and Jones door-to-door ahead of Leffler and Mike Wallace. Coming to the line, Busch jumps to the outside of Todd and becomes the 15th different leader of the race. Hamilton moves to 2nd, with Todd back to 3rd and battling Atwood. Down the backstretch, Hamilton jumps from 2nd to challenge Busch and pulls ahead through turns 3 and 4. But behind him now are 3 of the 4 Roush cars, as Busch gets help from Kenseth and Burton, with Martin closing on all of them. Hamilton leads his first lap of the day, but Busch strands him in the low lane, falling back behind a Roush Racing freight train. Busch leads again, but Martin's now behind the Ganassi duo of Marlin and Leffler in 4th and 5th. On lap 80, Marlin looks high into turn 3, bringing Leffler with him. Burton takes the middle lane ahead of Martin, then pulls down in front of Hamilton to lead the inside. Busch and Kenseth lead, but the inside line is pulling up on them, with Hamilton looking under Burton and Marlin for 3rd. On lap 81, Marlin pulls to the high lane by himself to take 2nd from Kenseth, but off turn 2, Kenseth jumps out on Busch, and with help from Hamilton takes the lead. Busch moves high to get in front of Martin, but this opens up the middle lane for Marlin. We're nearly halfway through this race already. There hasn't been a single caution, and the lead has changed 24 times. All 43 cars are still on the track, and 40 are on the lead lap, with only a few trailing the lead pack. Among those trailing is Jerry Nadeau, who took the lead early, but now languishes in 40th. For now, he's the last car on the lead lap. Mayfield in 41st still tries to get his lap back from the leaders, with Andretti now 42nd, ahead of the plummeting Schrader in 43rd in last place. It's lap 83. Kenseth still leads, but Atwood is shaken out, moving Hamilton back to 2nd ahead of Marlin, Todd, Ward, and now Michael Waltrip. As Atwood continues to lose spots, Skinner shoots the middle in turns 1 and 2, then flies past Waltrip for 6th. Coming off turn 4, Skinner is alongside Hamilton, but can't clear him. The lead 4 drivers pull away. But then Burton helps Skinner in his effort to catch 4th place Ward, but Todd jumps in front of Skinner to lead the outside line. Not to be outdone, Marlin does the same to Todd, leaving an open gap on the inside between leaders Kenseth and Ward. But when the line stalls out, Marlin drops back into 3rd behind the pair. The first 30 cars are separated by just 2 seconds, and the next round of green flag stops is expected in the next 14 laps. Back from commercial, Kenseth still leads, but now with Waltrip ahead of Hamilton for 2nd, and from 4th on back, it's a 3-wide pack with Craven in the middle and Atwood up high. Then, for the first time all day, a car falls off the pace. Steve Park's team had been giving him a hard time all weekend because he wanted to rent a Cadillac, even though he stayed on the track premises all weekend. Now he's run over something and cut down his left front tire. He's been nursing it ever since, trying to get to the next scheduled stop on lap 99, but now the tires come apart completely, and he's limping down the apron at the backstretch. Even now, the caution does not fall. Park makes it to pit road, where the crew take 1 pound of air out of the right rear and puts a round of wedge back in. He returns to the track in last place, taking the spot from Schrader. Back up front, teammate Waltrip gets to the middle lane and pulls ahead of Kenseth for the lead. He tries to stay up front by changing lanes, but Atwood and Hamilton shoot past, running door to door. Atwood pulls high, then back to the middle, opening the door for Marlin. Marlin beats Atwood to the stripe, denying the rookie his first lap lead of his Winston Cup career. Marlin returns to the low lane ahead of Atwood and Busch, who have Craven and Jr. behind them. The race passes the halfway point during the next commercial break. It's lap 96 now, and Marlin still leads Atwood and Jr. Jr. moves past Atwood for 2nd and draws up on the right rear of Marlin for the lead. Jr. makes it by, and the crowd goes wild.
And Earnhardt Jr. leads, and the crowd comes to its feet. First time today that Dale Jr. has led a lap. Well, they love that. You gotta love that. A potential win in Texas, foiled by a late pit stop. Earnhardt Jr. puts the Busch Chevy out front.
Behind them, Atwood gets under Marlin, exiting the tri-oval and moves back to 2nd, but as he does, his left side tires go below the yellow line. With that, Atwood becomes the first NASCAR driver to receive the black flag for racing out of bounds. When he serves the penalty on lap 98, he runs out of gas and loses his TAC rating, causing him to speed on pit road. This hands him an additional 15-second penalty. I got run down there below that yellow line one time, and that got us penalized, says Atwood after the race. I got inside of the car on the racetrack and he turned left. I had no choice but to go below that line. Bill Elliott, Atwood's teammate, is also caught speeding as he makes his own stop, along with the short pitting Kevin LePage. One of the drivers anxious to come in is Stacy Compton, now the 39th and final car on the lead lap, 5.646 seconds back of the lead. Just like Kenseth in the Daytona 500, he's broken either a shock or a shock mount, and is just barely hanging on. On lap 99, Busch pulls to the outside of Jr. for the lead, but this lets Waltrip pair up with Jr. for the first time since Daytona. The two then come down pit road on lap 100, along with Marlin, Mike Wallace, Burton, Hamilton, Nemechek, Gordon, Hornaday, and Leffler. Gordon takes 4 tires, and the crew goes down another turn on the track bar. Nemechek's struggling as his air conditioning fails, or so he thinks. He later finds the air hose came disconnected from his helmet. Marlin's crew reminds him to pull in wide around Waltrip on his way into the stall. Both finish their stops at the same time, Marlin leading Waltrip. Junior doesn't need any adjustments and launches out of his stall along with Burton. All 4 nearly collide coming off pit road. Craven takes the lead over Todd before both pit with Busch, Blaney, Jones, Skinner, Terry Labonte, Harvick, Ward, and Houston. Ward's car feels great, so he just takes 4 tires and fuel. Busch also has no complaints. Harvick does the same in 15.9 seconds. Skinner has a slow stop after 3 lug nuts come off the right rear wheel. Mark Martin leads, rejoining Sterling Marlin as the only 2 drivers to lead every Cup race in 2001. Martin then comes in with Benson, Andretti, Compton, Nadeau, Marcus, Kenseth, and Mayfield. Kenseth's car is a little tight, so the crew takes a turn at the left rear. During the stop, right rear tire carrier Brian Dunaway catches his foot on the air hose as he comes over the wall. He twists his left ankle, but continues his work. Kenseth pegs the rev limiter as he peels out of his stall. Compton's crew looks under the right front fender, only to find the shock mount is broken. Crew Chief Chad Knaus waves them off and directs them to take the car to the garage area. He then changes his mind. The crew removes the shock and sends Compton back onto the track in last place, the car porpoising on the track's old rough surface. Meanwhile, Ricky Rudd pits along with Rusty, Spencer, Presley, Jarrett, Bobby Labonte, Stewart, and Brett Bodine. Rudd gets no adjustments and 4 tires, clocking in at 16 seconds. Rusty pulls back on track ahead of Presley, but Martin catches them and takes second from Presley. Also closing fast is Todd Bodine, who exiting the tri-oval gets under Martin. But just like Atwood, he goes below the yellow line to take the second spot. And just like Atwood, he's black flagged. Darrell Waltrip applauds NASCAR's over-officiating of clean passes.
I'm glad, I've said for years, boys, we need out of bounds. I know that there are boundaries, but we need out of bounds, and now we are finally getting around to making that obvious.
3 weeks earlier.
There are no out of bounds in this sport. We are contained by big old concrete barriers. Everything inside of that is all fair play.
Todd serves his penalty, so Junior leads Marlin, and the top 10 drivers are single file again back to Gordon, who battles to the outside of 7th place Craven. Marlin looks under Junior entering turn 3, but Rusty pulls high, causing Marlin to drop back. The lapped Mayfield remains among the leaders, just ahead of 10th place Presley, and still hoping to get his lap back. But with 79 laps to go, the race is still caution-free. It's not quite 60 to go, but after lagging in the back all day, Dale Jarrett is starting to climb. He's up to 17th, following his teammate Ricky Rudd. Also looking fast is Purvis, who with 74 to go gets a big run on Jeff Gordon and Buckshot Jones. After 4 DNFs and no finishes better than 19th so far in 2001, Jones is having easily his best run of the season. And with 73 to go, Purvis, the Daytona 500 last place finisher, has climbed up to 10th. Back from commercial with 69 laps to go, Junior still leads Rusty, but the inside line is on the march, with Marlin leading Jarrett and Rudd. The next time by, Marlin is alongside 3rd place Hamilton. The lap after, Rusty looks under Junior, but thinks better of it. Behind them, what was briefly 2 groups is now 1, but it only consists of 42 cars. Compton has returned to the garage. On top of the broken shock mount, he now has engine trouble, either a piston or a valve spring. As the first driver behind the wall, Compton is the first to be asked about the action on the track.
Well, I tell you what, when it rains, it pours. I hate it for the guys with this Kodiak, Mellon, Dodge. Got a good car all day. You know, we figured out what we could do at the beginning. We led a few laps and decided to do like a lot of other guys, go to the back and ride around. And you know, when we needed to go, we could go. And we broke a shock there right before that pit stop. Was hoping for a caution. Come in, I sit in the pits, and with it idling, I'm not sure whether we burned a piston. May have broke a valve spring. I'm not sure what, but we got more problems with the shocks right now.
What's the traffic like out there today?
I mean, the guys are pretty much using their head right now. So a lot of guys riding around in the back waiting for that last 50 laps, and I think the last 50 laps is going to be pretty interesting.
Already with a 43rd place showing in Darlington, Compton returns to the track for a few laps before he falls out again. In so doing, he becomes the first repeat last-place finisher of the 2001 season, taking an early lead in the NASCAR standings. With 59 to go, there have now been 21 different leaders who have swapped the lead 27 times. Junior continues to lead over Rusty, but as Jeff Burton nearly scrubs the outside wall and Buckshot bangs doors with Busch, everyone is hanging on, waiting for a third and final round of green flag stops. Hamilton and Junior's teams have a handshake agreement to come in together in the next 18 to 21 laps. During the next commercial break, Junior slides up the track and drops to 13th.
Now 3 wide.
97 now wrecked me right in the middle of the oval.
Marlin now leads a reshuffled order of Rudd, Hamilton, Waltrip, Martin, Jones, Skinner, Houston, and Busch.
Temperatures start to flare. You get. I tell you, a lot of times I believe the reason wrecks happen in the second half of the race, mental fatigue. You just can't keep your focus that long for 3.5 hours.
We've now reached 50 laps to go in a still caution-free Talladega race, potentially the first since 1997.
In 1997, you ran this race here without a caution. What's the mental state of the driver right now? You've been out there, you've been battling for 138 laps side by side, working back to front, making pit stops. Where are you at right now as a driver?
Well, you mentally are being drained because you're having to make so many decisions. This is like a computer. It's like the computer sitting there having to make so many decisions every time you ask it a question. Feedback to the crew, racing people, somebody running into you. You lose your temper. You're hot. Your arm weary. You've been fighting that steering wheel for 2 hours. Buddy, I tell you, right now is when you've got to suck it up and be the man.
Fox debuts this stunning overhead shot following the field through turns 3 and 4. Nemechek thinks he has a broken shock as his car starts bouncing around. Benson picks up a tear-off on one of his hood pins. With 43 to go, Mark Martin, winner of the last caution-free Talladega race, gets the lead from Marlin off turn 2. Marlin says he's overheating. The team tries to convince him that it'll run that hot all day. Hornaday is up to 3rd, but Jeff Gordon has fallen back to 29th. With 41 to go, the penalized Todd Bodine is the first car 1 lap down in 33rd, still among the leaders, and still hoping for a quick caution. The next time by, Todd nearly brings it out himself.
And get some out of that second can.
Bobby Hamilton just got bumped right there. That was close, and you see him lose a little momentum.
Then, seconds later, Buckshot Jones crosses paths with Jeff Burton.
And I know we're up here and we can talk about this for a long time.
Whoa, boy, these guys are starting to feed on each other.
Marlin looks under Martin for the lead, but now here comes Ward with a big run up high, drawing alongside Martin. Both stall out. To the far inside comes Ricky Rudd. Now he takes the lead, just before the first group of cars come to pit road. DW points out how much everyone's struggling to slow down, as the right foot has been on the gas for so long that it's hard to move their legs. Michael Waltrip nearly bumps Skinner into the grass as they're joined by Jones, Marcus, Nemechek, Sadler, and Andretti. It's a slow stop for Waltrip, and he leaves the pits without any drafting help. The next time by, Marlin pits for 4 tires with Jeff Gordon, who gets a slight chassis adjustment. Also pitting are Houston, Busch, Terry Labonte, Jr., Leffler, and Blaney. Presley takes the lead as Rudd leads Martin and Ward onto the pits along with Rusty, Craven, and Benson. Ward is caught pitting outside his box, handing him a penalty that strands him in the back. Then Presley pits with Jarrett and Brett Bodine, handing the lead to Bobby Labonte. Jarrett thinks about taking 2 tires, but everyone's going for 4, so his crew does the same in 16.2 seconds. The lap after, Bobby Labonte pits for the lead with teammate Stewart, along with Spencer and Kenseth. Labonte stalls for a moment before the engine refires. Back up to speed, Stewart briefly leads before a big pack catches him in turn 3, putting Jeff Burton up front. Then Marlin retakes it with 31 to go. With 29 to go, there are 34 cars on the lead lap. The average speed still holds at 183.24 miles per hour, on pace to be the third fastest race in Winston Cup history, trailing only Mark Martin's caution-free win in 1997 and Bill Elliott's come-from-behind victory also at Talladega in 1985. But some of the leaders find trouble. While closing on slower traffic, Stewart sideswipes Benson, pushing in his left front fender, making it hard for him to close on the cars in front. Hamilton also has damage to the left rear, which when he pitted made him think he had a flat tire. Unlike Stewart, Hamilton's crew is able to make at least brief repairs during his scheduled stop. With 28 to go, LePage joins Compton in the garage area. Having pitted off sequence since the start of the race, LePage hasn't been a factor all day. Overheating issues will leave him 42nd, a costly day in his owner point battle. Back up front, the damaged Stewart manages to not only lead the inside line, but get a run on Marlin and take the lead with 27 to go. As he does, he weaves through a few lapped cars. Conspicuously absent is Jarrett, who had himself worked his way to second, only for Marlin to throw the block. Now with the laps running out, Jarrett must rally again from the 25th position. Now Busch is second, with Benson in third, Martin fourth, and Marlin back to fifth. Busch is having the best run of his career, following up his top 5 performance in Texas, and he is all over the back of Stewart. With 20 to go, Rusty nearly tangles with Craven as he changes lanes, and Skinner moves in front of Rusty to reform the middle lane. With 19 to go, Todd's lapped car is right between 4th place Martin and 5th place Burton, but he's running out of time to get his lap back. He soon pulls into the garage, taking 41st with a blown engine. It now dawns on everyone that there may not be a caution before the race is over. The aggression starts to pick up. With 18 to go, Craven bumps Skinner loose, and he falls to 15th. In these final laps, Skinner will become the 3rd driver black flagged for going below the yellow line, dropping him to 29th. After running in the top 10 just 50 laps earlier, Purvis has also lost the draft, and now gets lapped by Stewart off turn 4. It's 13 to go. Why not crank it up? During this segment, Mike Wallace has worked his way to 7th, and Rudd crowds him into the middle lane. Jones cuts out of line to avoid contact, and Loeffler pulls high through the tri-oval. With 11 to go, Nemechek and Rusty get together. Nemechek hangs on to it, and Rusty goes below the line, but no penalty is called. Nemechek locks onto teammate Hamilton's rear bumper. The teammate's now 10th and 11th on the outside line. Incredibly, Fox goes to commercial yet again, and we return with 8 to go. Stewart still leads Kurt as he laps Marcus, who has also lost touch with the pack. But Hamilton is advancing, now alongside 4th place Martin with Nemechek, Jr. and Rusty behind them. Time is running out, and Busch wants to go. He's never raced here, never even tested here, but he's ready to win. So is 3rd place Benson, who says he can make his move anytime. The crew chief James Ince tells Benson to stay put and wait until the final lap. For now, it's the right call. With 6 laps to go, Hamilton still can't clear 4th place Martin, the outside line just as difficult to make passes as it was at the beginning. DW says Hamilton needs to move up the track to get more air between his car and the inside line, but not too much so as to open another lane. It's possible his crew is listening. With 3 to go, Hamilton finally draws alongside third-place Benson in turns 3 and 4. Behind him, Junior signals to Rusty for a push. Exiting the tri-oval, he leans on Nemechek, who gives Hamilton such a hard push that it caves in the nose of his car.
You see these cars side by side behind him as they come to the white flag.
Got to do it, man. Got to work both sides of the street.
Oh, he almost got Hamilton as he came up the racetrack.
That hurt Tony's momentum. It hurt his momentum.
It did, and Hamilton gets the lead.
His teammate again behind him on the white flag lap.
And he doesn't want to leave his teammate hanging, but he's got to, or he may lose the lead to the 20 car.
I'm sure he needs to get to the bottom, and he goes to the bottom in front of Tony Stewart.
That leaves his teammate Joe Nemechek out to drive.
Now Bobby Hamilton got worried.
Hamilton comes up to take Nemechek along.
Play both sides, Bobby, both sides.
Oh, he's got to go to the bottom, Dale. Protect the bottom.
Protect the bottom.
Mark Martin, you know what? Make it 3 wide.
Folks, just remember, the start-finish line, when you come off of turn 4, the race is just beginning.
Hamilton, Stewart, and then 3 wide behind them.
If he'll protect the bottom, I don't believe they can beat him. He goes to the bottom here off turn 4.
Nice block.
Time to pop it, baby.
5 wide behind him for the last time through. Hamilton wins. Stewart is second, and they are 4 abreast for third. I believe Kurt Busch got it.
And I wouldn't even begin to guess from 4th back. I never saw anything like that in my life. I mean, I saw Bobby Hamilton win, but I never saw that many cars come across the line that close together.
And Darrell, everyone's prayers today were answered. We had a safe race at Talladega.
Oh, thank God. Thank God we had a great day and a great race.
Bobby Hamilton leads just 3 laps, which at the time is tied with Ernie Irvan in May of 1993 for the fewest ever by a Talladega race winner. He makes the 37th lead change count, scoring his 4th career NASCAR Winston Cup win, his first since 1998. Exhausted but triumphant, Hamilton receives oxygen as he sits by his car.
I watched that 3 car last year hugging them cars. Keeping his fun going. And then I seen Joe coming. I knew he was going to be okay, and this car finished second to Dale Earnhardt last year. Bless his heart, we missed him dearly here. I learned so much from that fall race here. And if anybody rode with me, he did. And thanks this guy right here, Joe. And
good job, man.
Joe Holmes car.
To congratulate him.
I'm just tickled death for Square D. They've been fighting a long, hard road and everything, and Chevrolet, Goodyear tires. I mean, we were better on old tires. Goodyear tires are off. Unical, anything I'm missing, I'm sorry. I'm new at this car, and I want to tell you what, I'm just happy to be here. I got a great teammate and a real good team.
You and Joe look absolutely physically drained. Was it the heat or the concentration, Bobby?
I tell you, I'm just really proud of everybody we raced against today, because I think it wore us out mentally just trying to be safe out there. I've seen more give and take today than I ever have here, and I'm just really proud of the people we raced against. This makes you proud to be in Winston Cup.
We had what we needed. We had a safe race, and congratulations to you as the winner.
Thanks.
He adds, I got pretty emotional in the race car, and I was so damn tired I couldn't even make tears come up. I got out of the car and couldn't stand up anyhow, so I might as well have went ahead and cried. Oh, this is an emotional victory. When he was driving for Morgan McClure Motorsports, Hamilton was criticized by some for not living up to the superspeedway success of his predecessors, Sterling Marlin, Ernie Irvan, and even Rick Wilson. That started to change the previous fall, where Hamilton also led 3 laps and was still in contention for the win before his crash set up the final restart. I learned some stuff in the fall race from Dale Sr., says Hamilton. I used it a couple times midway through the race. I said, this is working. Nobody else is doing it. I'm going to put it in the glove compartment and wait until 15 to go. So I just waited. Finally, Jimmy Elledge told me there were just 18 laps to go, then 17, 16, 15, and we took off. The win is the first for longtime sponsor Square D, and the first for Andy Petrie Racing. Petrie, a Talladega winning crew chief for Dale Earnhardt, Harry Gant, and another first-time winner in Phil Parsons, jumps on the hood of Hamilton's car as he rolls down pit road.
I'll tell you what, it's so big, and I couldn't have done it without all our sponsors. Square D, Oakwood, Chevrolet, all of them have stuck with me, and people like Ken Schrader just came and congratulated me. Without great friends and good people, couldn't have done it. I can't say enough about these Square D guys. Jimmy Elledge finally gets to put one in his win column. I've been getting on him about putting one in that column. He finally did, and Bobby Hamilton and Joe Nemechek, those guys were the best, and the teamwork that they showed today made me the proudest car owner here at Talladega.
How proud are you, your driver, Bobby Hamilton?
Well, I can't say enough about Bobby Hamilton. We knew he was a great race car driver when we got him, but we didn't have any idea how good he really was.
I knew he wasn't washed up, says Petrie of Hamilton. He's a great race car driver, and he's brought a bonding element to our team that you can't hardly put a price tag on. The moment overwhelms Jimmy Elledge, himself a former member of Dale Earnhardt's crew, who now has his first win as a crew chief.
That's unreal. I'll tell you what, Bobby did a super job there. You know, we kind of messed up on that last pit stop there, and it wasn't real good. And, just put 4 tires on him, and that's what worked last year for us with Kenny Wallace. And, you know, Kenny followed Dale to the front with that same car, and, you know, this was for my old buddy Dale. You know, we sure missed him, and all the people on the Earnhardt families, they're watching us. It's for y'all.
Prior to today, the last 8 Cup races at Talladega saw a combined 6 cautions in the first half and a combined 18 in the second. Among the second half incidents were 4 wrecks that each collected 10 or more cars. But on this day, there are no cautions, and just 3 drivers out of the event, all from engines worn out by the race's torrid pace. Of the 43 starters, 29 finish on the lead lap, and it is indeed the 3rd fastest Winston Cup Series race, 500 miles completed in 2 hours, 43 minutes and 4 seconds, an average of 184.003 miles per hour. Exhausted drivers stumble out of their cars, each catching their breath during post-race interviews. By just 163 thousandths of a second, Stewart finishes runner-up, but doesn't seem all that disappointed.
Well, when I saw him get the run, I knew he was going to be able to get by with the momentum he had. I was just hoping we didn't go from first back to like 20th in 1 or 2 laps. So, you know, to be honest, I was just happy that we were able to hold on there at the end.
Well, for a guy who came into this thing saying he had no plan, this turned out pretty good. Congratulations on the second.
That's why we did so good. We didn't have a plan.
Stewart also says he saw Hamilton's move coming. I was surprised that we stayed up front as long as we did, he says. I kept looking in the mirror down the backstretch and was watching who was taking their turn trying to get a run at us. Every time it was a different guy, and it didn't last very long. Then I saw that 55 getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and I thought, he is not going to go away. It was just a matter of whether we were going to be able to run the laps down before he got there, but we came up a lap or 2 short. Stewart continues, we didn't have a plan with Hamilton. If I could have done anything differently, I would have done it. Kurt had more patience than I would have had. I probably would have gotten a little anxious and tried to move too soon. He was the reason we were able to stay up there. For a rookie, he drove like a veteran. Indeed, in only his second race with sponsorship from Sharpie and Rubbermaid, Kurt Busch comes home a career-best 3rd.
What was your strategy on the last lap?
That's something I might say for Daytona, but I wanted to brew it up with about 2 to go, and that 55 and 33 car came together, beat the left sides off their cars like they needed to get to the front, so it spoiled mine, but we showed some patience. We showed them that we can hang out and push the leader around so we could break away. Just a great day for the Sharpie car.
A great day, and he also earned a lot of respect from his fellow competitors.
On the run to the finish, Busch says, quote, with about 5 to go, I remember a couple of words Tony said about me, and I thought, well, I hope I can hang with you and help you out, and then I hope I can burn you at the end. But the 55 and the 33 were a great team. When they got to me, that pinched my outside line, and I couldn't go below the yellow line. I was basically stuck pushing that orange Home Depot car. The lead pack was so tightly bunched that it takes NASCAR another 30 minutes to determine the finishing order. After examining all computer and video scoring, Mark Martin takes home 4th, with Bobby Labonte 5th, Nemechek 6th, Benson 7th, and Junior in 8th. Taking 9th is Mike Wallace, who follows up his 6th-place run in the Daytona 500 with his first finish better than 24th in the 8 races since.
Hey, how about that? Ultra Motorsports Nations ran forward. I mean, it was good. The pit stops were really good today, and the Yates group gave us some good motors. I mean, that was an intensely tough race out there, but, you know, I just got to thank Jim Smith, all the guys, Jim Long, our new crew chief, and all the guys on pit road did a wonderful job. You know, we don't get many times this year to thank our sponsor, Nations Rent. So if anybody needs a bulldozer tomorrow, you know where to go get one. But that was a mentally tough race. I mean, we run outside. There was about 20 to go and needed some help. You know, we were 6th and just kind of going and thought we were going to be okay. But, hey, a great day. And tell Dr. Dick I told him we'd run nonstop today. He didn't believe me. All right, congratulations, Mike.
Buckshot Jones comes home 16th. His first finish better than 19th all season, and only his second better than 29th. There were a few times people got together out there today, says Jones. I gave at times, and sometimes I didn't give, and someone would give to you. There were a couple of fender benders. But most importantly, it's a safe race, and for NASCAR, perhaps its biggest bullet dodged in the wake of Earnhardt's death. Says Martin, quote, I was afraid we'd wait until the end and wreck. The drivers just deserve a gold medal. Everybody took care of everybody else. The job they did was incredible. DW credits this to NASCAR's officiating of the yellow line rule, forgetting, of course, that all 4 accidents in February's Daytona 500, including Earnhardt's, were caused by contact within these new boundaries. This simple rule change will have long-standing implications for superspeedway racing that are very much still felt today. Not everyone is as impressed. Dale Jarrett and Jeff Gordon, who Hamilton believes are the best active superspeedway drivers, finish 18th and 27th. This allows Jarrett to extend his point lead by another 22 markers, now 145 ahead of the 24 team, but it's cold comfort. That's not racing, says Jarrett. We had a good car today, because Todd Parrott and the guys made sure of that. It's too bad there wasn't more of a reward for their effort. Hamilton's win lifts him to 4th in the standings, ahead of Sterling Marlin, who's also unhappy. After leading a race-high 51 laps, he becomes the 8th top lap leader in the last 10 Talladega races to not win the race.
Well, all the guys on the Coors Light Dodge team, they done a real good job, and we just got boxed at the end. They got to do something to fix it. We can run 200, 205 and get these cars separated. The wicker stirred so much air, and it comes down to 20 or 30 to go. And, pretty much early in the race, give and take. Everybody lets somebody go, and when it comes 20 to go, 30 to go, everybody starts boxing each other in, and me and Dale Jarrett rode around for 10 laps, nose to tail, high throttle. And we couldn't pass on the left, couldn't pass on the right, just boxed in. And, man, they got to take a serious look at this and fix it somehow.
How frustrating is it to not be able to move knowing how potent of a race car you have?
It was a lot. I knew we had a good car. I think Dale Jr. was back there with us, Gordon was back there with us, and there's nowhere to go. And side of my car looks like it's been running Martinsville. And it's just miraculous we didn't have the big one, 5 to go, because, I mean, it was some wild stuff going on, but pleading with them, they got to fix this stuff.
Jimmy Spencer, who finishes 36, says, quote, this is not racing the way we were taught to race. We were taught to beat one another and not be lifting off the throttle all day long. There's no strategy, really. Just give. You let them go, and keep lifting off the gas. Also disgusted by the race is writer Kerry Estes for the Birmingham Post-Herald, who writes, quote, there was no give and take during most of the Talladega 500, only give. The drivers seemed to go out of their way to make sure they did not beat, bang, or even nudge each other on the track. The result was a caution-free, excitement-free race. Sure, things picked up a little near the end when drivers actually began racing each other for the victory, but for the most part, this was nothing more than cars going around in a circle. A similar statement is made by writer Leigh Montville when he publishes his Dale Earnhardt book At the Altar of Speed. Only Sterling Marlin's team will stay at Talladega another day as NASCAR fine-tunes the Superspeedway package for Daytona in July. The rest are already headed west for the second time in 2 months. The California Speedway awaits, and another 500-mile test for the best in stock car racing.
In America, there exists a sport that is driven by the fans. They are why everyone works so hard, on the teams and at the tracks, in front of the grandstands and behind the scenes, to give the fans the greatest race possible. NASCAR fans deserve the best, starting from the high banks of Daytona, all the way to the shores of California, and at every race in between. NASCAR fans, you're the reason for our success. Thanks.